3, 2, let's freaking go, baby. Anyone who knows that I do, anyone who knows that I do this knows that I always point to the wrong direction when I cue folks, and so twice in a row is a good freaking omen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's January 25th, 2025, 106 in the EST, but in the morning in the PST. I'm joined with somebody that I've admired online for a long time for like the hard work that they're doing in our scene. It's the Taste Destroyer. Nikki, how are you?
Oh my God, you're so sweet. I'm so stoked to be talking to you, Chris, because I have admired you online and I've always wanted to talk like more in depth about music because every time I see you in like a Twitter reply to someone, I'm always just like, you get it. Like, this is so sick.
This shit is real to me, okay? Like, this ain't no joke.
I'm very stoked.
All right. For those who may be wondering what the heck the apples are referring to, over the last like few months or so, I and a select few others, like my friend Haystack West, good old Los, and my friends Aelor, aka the Living Abstraction, we have just like took a big look at like the Apple 100 list, and when I first saw it, I'm like, shit's mid, not gonna lie, and with the gang, it's like let's make our own list in a way, see what matters most to us in our listening history. And so like our first take, me and Aelor, we stripped the whole tree down, like what's going on here, who really deserves to be here. And at first we were like, okay, this will be like a 3-stream series, we'll keep it short. But I'm like, nah, we gotta up the ante, we gotta keep this gravy train rolling. So I've decided that like you and like maybe about 5 more people are gonna like just like take every album off and put their own selections in, and we'll just see what just like sticks the landing overall across cultures, across just like hyper fixations, if you will. For anybody who may be meeting you for the first time, Nikki, what do you do? Like, why should the people care to like get into like our Nardwuar bag?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible.
Elevator pitch. Yeah.
I have been doing. I make playlists. I make weirdly specific playlists. The last couple years, I've been forcing myself to do weekly releases. So now I'm like, F that. There are other people who do weekly releases and they're so good at it. I'm
You're
not
allowed
good
to swear,
at it.
by the way.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna focus on my weird ass playlists. I'm like switching things up right now in my life and on the internet. I will be streaming on Twitch, editing my playlists. I was just working on my Yacht Rock playlist and I'm getting into like my Indie Sleaze playlist next. But yeah, I've definitely come up in like post-hardcore and like ska scenes. Yacht Rock is very near and dear to my heart, so I'm glad it's having like a pop culture moment right now. I've done some like music marketing freelancing. I'm disabled and I've been more sick lately, so I'm cutting down on that. And I've decided to start a memoir about assisted death, which is a very heavy topic, which is why I'm putting a lot of those discussions behind paywalls, to make sure that I'm not like getting kicked off the internet. And so that the people who are looking into the very potentially triggering content, but I think very helpful and very important information, will be able to read and like have that connection, but it's like fully under consent. I don't want some of that information to get in the wrong hands, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I understand what you mean. Just like stumble upon it accidentally and things of that nature.
Yeah. And I think most people are generally like, yeah, if someone has like progressive disabilities or like terminal illness, like I think the majority of people support someone in choosing a very empowered and dignified way to end their own life. I think that's pretty uncontroversial, but the details of like what disabled people go through and how you end up getting to making that choice or like getting to that, I think it can be kind of messy. So I want to make sure that, you know, it's not just going to pop up in someone's algorithm with like the darkest of the shit. And people don't hear about that. You don't hear about the details. So I'm like, you know what? I want to write about this because I can't. If I talk about the thoughts I'm having, I'm going to be accused of trauma dumping. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my whole thing.
Word. For the record, if you go to the description of this stream, you'll see a link to Nikki's Instagram. There is like the master post, like the link tree to everything that they're doing. Very, very cool. Let's add to the list, I suppose. I have a link right now to the Apple list for anybody who may have been adjacently following what we've been doing. Here's what we have so far. In regards to what we've taken off like the list, we have removed 30 records. We took off Astroworld, Kraftwerk, Arctic Monkeys, Erykah Badu, Guns N' Roses, Drake, Kanye, Radiohead, Beyonce, Nas, Stevie Wonder, Taylor Swift, Dr. Dre, The Beatles, The Rolling Stones, Prince, Led Zeppelin, Rihanna, Tupac, The Smiths, Neil Young, Robin, more Beatles, Carole King, Patti Smith, Burial, The Cure, Björk, Joni Mitchell, and Janet Jackson. So you get to put 10 more records into like the big one and take 10 off. So bear that in mind. We'll do that at like the end of our stream today. I'm primarily interested in like the records that meant the most to you. I believe you have 25 for us today.
I have my list is kind of a mess. And also,
so say we all.
Based on what you just said, I think part of my list is not. I think I messed up the assignment.
How?
Because I picked. Okay, I was like 25 albums, and instead of picking 10 albums to remove, I picked 10 albums on the list that I wanted to keep. And I
That's okay. We can also mention that.
But well, here's the thing though.
Okay.
Most of those 10, I was like, yeah, I love this artist and this is a good album, but I would love a different album. So it'll be really easy to like transfer those, and I'll just be like,
perfect.
I was like, I'll just switch that for the album that I wanted originally. And then I have a list of like 25 albums, so I'll just like find a couple more to like move in there that's like from a different artist.
Okay. And I also want to apologize to you here live on the stream that like I think I went about like explaining what we're doing here in a very like convoluted way. Perhaps.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I literally am brain injured and like
Got you.
Don't remember. Like yeah, I heard it and I was like, great, this is amazing. And then 5 minutes later, I was like,
wait a minute.
Oh, it's this thing that it wasn't. So, yeah,
hey, we can improvise here. It's so cool.
Yeah, if we're gonna be, I think, stressing that this list is kind of mid, and like even so many of them, I'm like,
no,
great artists, incredible. Have you even heard their music? Because why are you picking this album? Yeah, I agree. The assignment can change.
Jonah, we're putting your website in the comments after this stream. Like, shout out to the big homie. I've been following Jonah online for eons. Like, it goes way back to like freaking Tumblr and like early times of YouTube. So glad you're here with us, my dog. Shout out to the art dad. Let's do like the first 5. What do you got?
Ooh, okay, I think I said there's no way that I could actually rank these. So the really off the wall ones, I think maybe we can start with my post-hardcore and ska albums, because that's
like
kind
blood.
of what I grew up on, you know?
Yes.
Okay.
And away we go.
I'm so like the first one, this is gonna like change how we you know what I mean? This is what starts us off. So
yes.
I'm gonna start with my 2 ska albums.
Okay.
I'm gonna name them both because they came out at the same time, but one band is extremely influenced by the other. Uh,
Interesting.
and so the first one that we can talk about is Fishbone, Give a Monkey a Brain. And actually, I always forget the entire full name of the album because it's very long, but it's the Fishbone album with Unyielding Conditioning, which I think is a huge contender for like best song of all time. It's like my favorite
Holy moly.
guitar solo. And then also No Doubt self-titled album called No Doubt, which came out before Tragic Kingdom. It's very weird. But No Doubt was very like Fishbone was one of their biggest inspos.
And this is the era when like is this the era right along the time when Gwen took over on lead, or is it prior to that time?
Gwen is singing, but I think this was when her brother was still in the band.
Okay.
So he did a lot of like the conceptual stuff for like visuals. He was writing most of the lyrics. It really was his band. But before they got signed, he left the band and he went to be an animator on The Simpsons for people
That
who
is
don't know that lore.
that is such a flex.
Yeah. And then because it was like at that point, they had been like a local like Orange County ska band and they were really frustrated. They were like about to break up or whatever. He leaves and then like I was about to say Adrian, but it's Tony. Like Gwen was dating Tony and he dumps her. And then she writes Tragic Kingdom and like they pop off. So that's like the No Doubt.
Lore. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. No Doubt was like really my gateway band for a lot of things, especially ska, obviously. But that album is very weird. Very weird and very like Fishbone inspired.
I believe the album was because I'm like I go to my primary source for most things in this like music shit is like Wikipedia. So like first place I flew to, and I believe the record is called "Give a Monkey a Brain and He'll Swear He's the Center of the Universe." And
Yes.
I just gotta say that like I didn't know who because I'm 32 and I didn't know who Fishbone was until high school. And even if I didn't have that friend that played me some of their stuff in the car on the way to like theater practice, iTunes would have like did the work for me because Everyday Sunshine was like a free download 1 week. And I'm like, I've never heard a band like this before. And even still to this day, like I think a little recently, prior to like all the drama currently going on with the band, they were like hired to do like a cover of Them Bones by Alice in Chains. And I think it's like the hardest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like
I haven't heard that. I would love to hear that.
I am definitely going to put it in like your inbox today. Okay. It's stupendous. Like a band this cool shouldn't be allowed to be like alive. Like unreal.
I would also like to flex that I saw Fishbone live for the first time a month ago.
Oh wow.
And it was so good. I think for any type of like legacy act, you know, my expectations are a little bit like I reel in my expectations. And I'm like, I'm just happy with whatever they're gonna give me. They were so incredible, like so hard. One of the best live performances I've ever seen. It was just so good, so magical. Yeah, I can't even. They also did like a real encore instead of like a fake encore. You know what I mean?
I don't think I do.
Have you ever like seen a band live and it's just very like they won't play their like biggest hits, and then it's a very like, oh no, they left and they didn't play their biggest hits, and then 2 seconds later they're like out and they're like playing the biggest hits for the encore, and it's like, yeah, obviously you're gonna do that, which just like, I don't know, kind of annoys me. But they like, you know, did their hits, whatever, and then played some like random like songs and like also made them like they had like weird arrangements for them too. And I'm like, oh, that's like actually like a treat and like what an encore should be, I think.
I feel you. I've only maybe I don't go to a lot of shows anymore these days, but two stuck out in my mind when I had some friends who took me to the Wonder Years here in Philly, and it was that tour where they did two like album length. They did like well, I forget the names of the albums, but like it was like their 10-year anniversary, John. And so they played 2 nights in Philly. We went to both nights. They played both albums, start to finish, and then played a bunch of B-sides after the fact. And I'm like, that's incredible. And I saw the band Caro Caro Bonito at Union Transfer, and it was during like their Time and Place era. And after their set, they played like Vertigo by U2, and the whole place went bananas because I certainly wasn't expecting that. And that has a lot of like, that's a big like single for me as a young person in middle school. So for them to pull that out and just like, wow, stupendous. And yeah. Flamingo.
Yes.
Oh, 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 oh. What are the next two on your list?
Okay. Let's get into some post-hardcore.
Let's do it.
I feel like my OG post-hardcore fave is Fall of Troy Doppelganger.
Ooh!
That's like a big major moment for me because I very much, my music taste sits on like the spectrum of ADHD, overstimulation. On one end it's hyper pop, and on the other end it's like mathcore, progressive, post-hardcore, just like really high intensity, a lot going on, like dopamine seeking, my dopamine seeking brain, like this is what it needs in the background for me to like function. And I feel like the divide in like Fall of Troy listeners is like, if you're like me, I'm like, no, I want to be listening to something that's like 100% energy the entire way through. And that's what Doppelganger is. And then some people are like, that's way too much. I would like not be happy if I was listening to that. I prefer Manipulator. And it's like, just like weird and like goes in and out like energy wise. And I'm like, no, Manipulator is kind of boring to me. Not really, it's great, but I definitely like Doppelganger is my fave.
I am also a Doppelganger kid, and in the stereotypical way of Guitar Hero 3 like put a lot of people on to math rock as a concept. One moment, please. Yes.
I always forget that was like
okay.
Guitar Hero 3 jam.
And so you don't hear a band, you hear a band like Fall of Troy, and it changes your life.
Yes.
And like you're constantly seeking it out. And I think I followed them faithfully until about what's that release called? I think it came out I think in 2009 in The Unlikely Event, because I believe that that single Panic Attack,
I love Panic Attack.
That's a barn burner for sure.
Yes.
And then I think like I just kind of like I stopped paying attention to them. But I love the fact that like institutions like Audio Tree and bands like Chon and lesser known bands like Seder kind of like keep like the flag flying for that specific style. I know Chon is no longer active, but for anybody who might be interested in like a Troy style band, look no further than Seder. I mentioned them briefly when I interviewed half of Pulses. Shout out Pulses, baby.
Shout out Pulses. Always shout out Pulses.
Always. Like if you're going to that show in like 6 days in Virginia, I am quite envious.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just the way I like it's Thomas Eric, like when he joined Chiodos, I'm like, he's gonna save the band because maybe they're gonna make some mathy type shit. And it didn't really happen. It just seemed like he was like a higher gun, which is fine. Muggs got to get paid, you know what I'm saying? But especially since like side note, the best Chiodos record is Illuminatio, and if you disagree, meet me in the comments.
That's a hot take.
That's all I'm saying is like listen, and like I don't even remember dude's name for real, but like to be the lead singer of like a Craig Owens band and not be Craig Owens and to do what they did for Illuminatio, I need nothing more from them, respectfully. So let's move on before
Yeah.
the C kids come out with the pitchforks. Like, what did they say?
Okay. I've got a classic. Okay, I'm forming my thoughts.
Okay,
So
go for it. Yeah.
this list, right? All time, it's the music appreciation. I can have some problematic faves, right?
We all do.
Okay. I'm just letting y'all know. I've got some problematic faves in here. No
We
one
say
that I
scandal
like.
acknowledged a lot here.
Yeah, there are some people like my faves that have disappointed me and like whatever. Like I'm not really like. There's some problematic faves that have like they're no longer even faves in my mind, and I'm just like, you're so terrible, I hate you. These still like the music just holds up so much to me, and I don't know, like I have different associations with it, so I can still listen to it. But the next one is A Flair for the Dramatic from Pierce the Veil.
You have no idea how much you have no idea how like thankful I am that you said this because I keep on going on and on about it and nobody wants to hear me.
No, I've got like I mean that because that's when I discovered like I still think of Selfish Machines as their like new album.
Oh wow.
And like I heard someone say when I was in college, like someone was like, "Oh, what's your opinion on Pierce the Veil?" And this guy was like, "Honestly, they never like after A Flair for the Dramatic, they just like lost this like groove that they had that was really sick, and I haven't listened to like anything else." And I was like, damn, like that album that was like weird and gross. And like obviously like I liked some of the classics on there, and that's when I discovered them, and it's like what it is. But I feel like Selfish Machines was really like my era when I was like a young high schooler. And it had better recording and production and stuff. But for the last like 8 to 10 years, like I listened to Selfish Machines a lot in college, and then after that I really only go back to A Flair for the Dramatic. I don't really listen to anything else by them.
Yo, so
And
like
it's so good.
and so like again, funnily enough, my introduction to like Pierce was their Don't Fear the Reaper cover.
It's good.
And it's good.
Good, yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
because I had a friend in my little high school crew who was very into Pierce the Veil, and I never gave them a chance. And I'm like, this vocalist, it's giving Coheed and Cambria, Equal Vision Records, and so you get like those. And I think what got me on the path was I bought a sampler at Warped Tour 2010, and again, it's like I got freebies on iTunes, and it was like the height of like the success of their single with the dude from like A Day to Remember, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Caraphernalia, I think. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I never heard anything like this at all in this scene.
Mhm.
Because, we had a lot of weird vocalists popping off at the time. Kellen Quinn, Michael Jackman, the dude from Of Machines, and
The
stuff
literally
like that.
like, is this a girl's voice?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
anytime.
Androgyny core,
Yeah.
And so what I'll say is this, and quick side note to the side note, the Before Today record is so good if you want some deep Pierce the Veil lore for anybody who's interested. But like I appreciate that like Flair for the Dramatic is for real like emo listeners. And not just like emo as a fashion statement, emo as a genre. That's what Flair for the Dramatic is. And Selfish Machines is like, we're trying to go mainstream with this shit. Selfish Machines feels like they're Three Cheers, if that makes any sense. It just like it's kind of brutal and fast and mean. But then like the one after that, it kind of feels like they're Death of a Bachelor, if that makes any sense. It's like
Yeah.
Pierce the Veil wants to be a mainstream band. Like I know that King for a Day, like it is kind of like Jump the Shark. Like it is like it's like
Yeah.
it exists in its own realm,
Yes.
but
It's
like
became
as
like
an
its own, yeah.
like as an album, it doesn't do a lot for me. My personal favorite from that record, I think Collide with the Sky is the record. I love their collab with Jason from Let Live, Tangled in the Great Escape. Oh my god. That's that is some generational post-hardcore in my personal opinion.
I
But like it's
I forget about that.
and like I feel
You're
like it really
saying
just
that like, yeah, that did exist.
yeah, like it's I feel like it's one of those few songs where like Jason's doing guest vocals where he does both things that he's exceptionally good at really well. Like I feel like he's underrated as a singer, and mainly like he's just doing like that off the wall, like
Yeah.
shrieking like a banshee thing that we
Yeah.
all love and respect him for, but just like if you're not like burnt out on Mother by Let Live, you forget that he can really, really sing.
Yeah,
So
no, and he's like an icon for
oh,
sure.
to this freaking day. Like I haven't re-listened to Fever since like they got the new lineup, but like I'm excited to like properly give them a chance. But that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there. But yeah,
I'm
just
gonna say, oh, keep going.
yeah, please, get your bed in real quick.
No. I was gonna say I could talk about Pierce the Veil forever, so I need to like handle myself and like keep going.
Yeah, so again, scandal acknowledged. Like all I really want to say, because I feel like the Note to Scene podcast is like they're the foundation of my issue with this particular band, in the sense that, and what I always bring up is that when Issues knew there was an issue with Tyler Carter, they took action within the week. When Thy Art Is Murder knew that their frontman was a transphobe, they took action right away. It's like, hey, he's out, new vocalist, new recording, like we re-recorded everything, album's still on the way. Sorry for the trouble. Like it doesn't have to be this waiting game of are they going to say something? Because I would have even appreciated. I'm struggling with the fact that I may have to fire my brother from this band, a person who I said I would not do the band without. And speaking of Let Live, because we got Lionel from Let Live on drums for the live portion of like New Pierce, and I'm like, you could have did this right away, and everyone would have supported you because everyone loves Pierce the Veil. Like, I have a coworker at my job right now who's like, "Yo, I saw Blink-182, and Pierce the Veil was the opening act." Do you know how earth-shattering that would have been even a decade ago? It would have been unfreaking heard of. And this is what we could have gotten if we wanted to have a real conversation about the relationship between like the artist and like the fans, like who really just like made them viable over the next 10 years. Because not enough, I feel like it's not said enough how much like young women and femmes and queer people are the only reason why we have a scene. Because like, I guess as a former dude, bro, we're not paying for shit. We're illegally downloading from LimeWire and third-party sites. We don't really be outside with it, and if we do, it's very much like I'm something like, hey, I come to all this. It's like a pissing competition. Like I would imagine like your average like participant in the scene is like me, where it's like I have enough for this ticket. I'm gonna see the show and go home. I can't afford to get everything from the table and whatever. So like, when you think of really who's like who's like the financial fuel of the scene, it's all those intersections. It's all like those intersections. And if we can't protect them, we don't deserve to have a scene.
I think that's such an incredible point because I think often about my relationship to musicians I admire and the ones that I've been able to meet, and how I felt, especially when I was in college and going to shows all the time, um, how I was treated versus like male fans. And it's like, oh, do you have groupies or do you just have female like or do you just have fans with like a vagina? Because that's like
It's night and day.
yeah, and it like by artists who I love so much and their music has impacted me, I've had stupid band guys treat me like there's no way for me to possibly have an interest. I'm just there because I want proximity to them, or I want to talk to them or hook up with them or whatever. And I'm like, ew. And then having that impact my own gender journey, because music has always been like so dysphoria inducing and like just creating so much anger for me, because I'm like, why? I think a lot of like misogyny and being treated, because misogyny and like the way that people treat women is very disrespectful. So it's like, how am I like reckoning with the fact that like, well, yeah, nobody wants to be treated with disrespect, but also I didn't realize for so long that there's also this layer of dysphoria. So I'm like, I actively just don't want to be treated like a girl. You know what I mean? Anyway, but yeah, music has really brought that up for me. But I've never thought like obviously fangirls and like girls have like young women have created so many people's careers in music. But in that same, the way that you just explained it, I think like put some pieces together that like even I hadn't like thought about. So yeah.
Like I want band dudes to understand that like their responsibility extends past the stage and past like a social media post. Like when I was still actively on Twitter, I saw like a video of a guy like chasing a predator out of a venue. Like, hey, I remember what you did. You can't come in here. Like, get out. You need to go. And I'm like, it doesn't even take like 30 dudes to like be tough, but just like for one person, like, oh, like, because I'm like, if you recall, like the Roman candle issue with See You Space Cowboy, their local scene said the way y'all handle this specific situation is very like was very inappropriate, and we want the world to know. And like, that's all that we really freaking, because like all the pieces were already there, because like this was an online act, and it sucks because like they were so young in the freaking first place. This really like that proximity to like Cowboy really could have like changed their lives. But like it's like, oh, by the way, this is something they're dealing with. And like by this happening, it's like we can prevent this shit from happening at all in the future. Quiet is kept. Like I believe in a very secular way, we have to come to grips with like forgiveness as a concept. Like, because condemnation is going to kill this music straight up.
I was so locked in and so excited because I knew when you say in a secular way, I was like, whatever you're about to say next is going to be good. And then you tied it into forgiveness. I love that. Yeah.
Because you remember how remember the day on the internet when like Underworld's like, we're not a Christian band anymore. And like people like lost their minds, for lack of a better term. Like
even just the fact that like forgiveness is typically associated with like religion and Christianity
explicitly
is, like, wild, because forgiveness, this is a whole there's going to be a different section of albums where we can come back to spirituality and Christianity and shit like that, because I think about that like that's
well, bearing that in mind, let's move on, I suppose, because we got 4. Let's do the next 2.
Okay. Did I start the trend of like going like by 2 because that's how I did my first 2, or is that like
I think it works.
Way.
I think it works.
Okay. There was one, I think I had 24 and I was going to add the Sufferer album. So I'm just going to put this here. Sufferer and First Temple by Closure in Moscow.
Wait, and for the record, is this like Sufferer as in like the side project of A Lot Like Birds?
Yeah.
Taste. Freaking taste.
That's what I know for. Yeah, when I heard that side project, I think I was already starting to be very like jaded with that particular scene, and based on all the bands that were included, I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna like this. Like, I think it's just gonna be kind of like their other music. If it sounds like what I know these guys for, I don't know that I'm gonna love it. And then it came out and it absolutely blew my mind. it it was so hard, and it also, like, I think having the different, like, narrations of, like, the anxiety, depression, and, like, the sufferer, like, I'm not really a concept album person. Um, I wanna listen to, like, a good song and have that, like, etched in my brain. Um, and that was, like, one of the first times that, uh, a concept album, like, hit me really hard.
It's funny that you say that because I believe that second record with Kurt in Birds, I would I forget I think what it's called. I think it's called No Hope or something in that
Yes.
regard. Like,
No
yeah, so like
Place?
No Place. Yeah, like No Place is definitely like a concept record. And
It's
I'm
one that
so
I hear
glad that
about a lot with the, like, different rooms in the house.
yeah, like I haven't listened to that album for a long time because it's kind of like heavy, like in a very emotional and mental way. But
Mhm.
just I'm so thankful for like I'm so thankful for a lot like birds in a lot of ways, but like primarily as like my vehicle for like, oh, Dance Gap and Dance isn't the only band allowed to make like their shit. Like
Yeah.
Swancore can exist outside of like that specific act. Like there is a like
Mhm.
an outside of like Blue Swan, outside of just like the Sacramento scene. It's like, oh, everybody can like make a high density, complicated guitar record that's not
Mhm.
like that doesn't have like the stench of like post rock on it, like 10-minute songs and stuff like that. And I don't mean to be shitty when I say that, but just in the sense that like you can't play
No.
This Will Destroy You at like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
you know what I'm talking about? Like you can't play
Yeah.
like God is an Astronaut
Yeah.
at like the freaking like the parties that people go to and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
very much like, oh, this is like for solo meditation, long drives, like you very like
Yeah.
very emotional walks and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So and frankly, I didn't really even listen to Sufferer. I just think that yo, if Corey from A Lot Like Bergs is involved, vocals are gonna be bonkers, lyrics are gonna be great. I'm gonna keep this in my back pocket. So glad to know that other people in the world like care about this record and want other people to hear it.
It's really good. It's also part of the marketing for it is something that I talk about often with my clients, about album
Mm,
rollouts and stuff because they were doing something kind of different from what they're used to. They already had, like, the marketing power of, like, a super group, but I don't know if this is something you remember, it's, like, buried so deep in my mind, um, or, like, not buried, but, like, it's, like, stuck in my mind. They coordinated with, like, the American, like, Association of Depression or whatever, like, these organizations,
wow.
like, for mental health, and they were, like, fundraising money for them and using actual, like, mental health as, like, ways to, um, connect, and I think they were just doing it as, like, a thing to be charitable, but like, they were like, "We started getting so many messages that were saying, like, this is not like, I don't listen to any type of music like this, and I never would, but I found you, like, through XYZ, and this just changed my life. This changed my mental health," like, um, and I always when I talk about marketing or, like, I'm helping people, I'm always like, "Take the message, take what's in the music, like, we're gonna find a way to communicate and connect with the people who are going to relate to this message." And I think that that was, like, such a great example of that happening because like, I think they said they didn't even plan on, like, touring, and they were underselling themselves in general, but, like, I think that that did play a part in, like, making that side project, like, bigger than they had expected.
I love that because that's proper community care. That's community
Mhm,
service. And I
mhm,
feel like because these days we're all like, oh, DSPs like Spotify are ruining the industry.
mhm,
Okay, how are these mugs gonna get paid? Someone's gonna pay for all this shit. Like,
mhm,
okay, festivals are cooked. Nobody can afford to put them on anymore. What are we
Mm-hmm.
gonna do if we can't just like bully the radio stations to like playing our local favorite acts? Who's gonna cough it up? And we gotta like just like look to institutions outside of the industry and just work together. Because like if you build it, they will come. And it's like, oh, mugs do not want to be depressed anymore. And I specifically recall like Chris from Motionless in White saying, please don't tell me I saved your life or music saved your life. You saved your life. And that, again, earth-shattering concept to this scene. No one was saying stuff like that before he did.
I literally told someone that same quote last night. That quote lives in my head rent-free, and I love talking about it. And earlier in this conversation, you said something about like the real conversation about separating the art from the artist, and that quote, I was like tapping. I'm like, I know what you're talking about, because the way that people talk about separating the art from the artist, I'm like, it's not even the correct framework. I think exactly that conversation is what we should be talking about, separating the art from the artist, because when we listen to music and we project onto this music, we don't know anything about the artist. Like it's our own, we have our own relationship with music. And like, I think obviously like, no, we should not, I'm not interested in supporting and like giving clout and paying artists who are shitty. Like, I don't want to do that. But if you think about the phrase separating the art from the artist and what that means, I think it is a much bigger topic than just, I think when people say that, they really mean, how do we hold entertainers accountable when we don't fuck with what they're doing? Sorry if I'm not allowed to say that.
You totally are.
Okay. Yeah.
I just want to say before we move on.
I love telling people that quote from Chris Motionless.
I want to talk about like Closure Moscow right away, but before I do, I want to mention that like I was getting a ride home from work, and it's one of my younger coworkers, and so we're in the car, and like a Drake song comes on, and like his relationship to like Gen Zs it's a very interesting conversation. I feel like more people who are like. Like, and because like I'm thinking like I'm playing it off like, oh wow, like playing Drake in the car, and like homie's like, I sincerely dislike this song, like no jokes, no bullshit, not excusing nothing, like this song means a lot to me. And I'm like, okay, cool, because like I've heard conversations from like people who like do like this like social studies as like as a job, like commentators as like a job, who are like, oh, I'll still put Drake on in the gym. And in my mind, I'm like, but why though? You know, like I think I think at a certain point, it becomes more than like, I just really love Take Care. My whole thing is like at the core of like the whole beef is like, if I'm to take Kendrick Lamar at his word, this is a dangerous person. I don't want to engage with nothing that's OVO related. And there's a whole fathom of like Canadian hip hop that I could tap into if that's what this was really about. But like especially since like it's the most popular genre in the world, and again like it's propped up by like the money and support by women, femmes, and queer people, I want to make sure that like I'm doing my part in keeping them safe. So like if we're in the car, you drive me home for like 5 minutes, I may rib you a bit, you know what I'm saying? But like especially with like with us like separating like, because like even like when we first like dissected like the Apple list, and we're like, okay, is Take Care even like the best Drake record? Well, me and Aylor like probably not actually. So what are we really talking about? You know what I'm saying? It's like it's clearly like that's some clickbait in my opinion. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Like let's be honest. Let's be honest about like what's really going on here, because I remember even when I wasn't as woke as I am now, and I said so in the stream that like it was primarily I thought Drake was different, but like when he turned out to be one of like the cool guys that made fun of me, I'm like, oh, but like then this has nothing for me here. Never mind like his disrespect of women and things of that nature. I'm like, if he wants to like tease me for not being exactly like him, there's nothing for me to glean here. And that's when like I feel like the shit gets dangerous, because I remember in 2018 when Scorpion by Drake came out, I'm like, this shit's kind of long-winded and boring. And time like it's like all bangers. It's like, is man just like talking to talk? Like,
I
skip, move around.
I feel like so industry plant gets thrown around so much, but I think very early on, it was very clear to me that Drake was a product being pushed by the record labels. Like, and it's
Yeah.
like it's not even he doesn't even have his own identity as an artist. He's just his music, especially like the first up until Views at least, it's all just like songwriters and like people putting, which um I know tangentially that in rap it's a very different relationship than the rest of pop around writers and stuff. But it was just really, I think always when listening to Drake, it was like very clear to me that this is like people are writing hits and it's being given to this one person. And like, even though I know he had his identity of being like for the women and everyone talks about how like, you know, he switched up and started being very incel-y, like I struggled to really see like an identity in him versus like people who are like a lot more hands-on in their music. And in 2013, I'm putting this on record, in 2013, I was caught saying he started as Jimmy Brooks, an actor who's playing a character who raps. Lil Wayne signed him and he's continuing to act as a character who raps. Like
And I can say,
his job has not changed since Degrassi. Like I don't know. Like, so I don't know. I have been like kind of anti-Drake for like not the right reasons forever. So I don't want to be like, I was so early to hating him because it wasn't like
it's easy
that.
to do. He
It
makes it
was,
easy to do.
yeah, I was never buying what people were trying to sell Drake as, I think.
Um, I'll say that like it took my last relationship to like really like peel back the layers of, hey, yo, these bars are alarming. Because I remember we were me and my person at the time, we were getting a ride from a friend, and he was playing some like first official EP Drake stuff in the car, and my ex was like asleep, tired, and just heard this one particular bar and woke up was like, what was that? Run the back real quick. Hey yo, and I'm like, huh, like what would make them so like disgusted by that bar? And then you look at it and it's like, ew, ugh. The bones of like just like disdain for women were always there, but like you could just do shit like that way back when. And in regards to like Take Care, that was my last thing on Take Care. Like around that period, that introduced like the mainstream world to like The Weeknd, and Drake was like, let's collab on a professional level. And Abel's like, no. And you know, like that history kind of writes itself because like The Weeknd went on to be like who he became, and like there's Drake. But that's neither here nor there. I want to talk about First Temple. I just want to say, when my introduction to this band was via Silverstein, because they were on tour with the band, and I just thought like it was the name of a tour. I didn't know it was a band. And just like hearing it was like it's like the big single from their EP prior to First Temple.
Yes.
I forget what it's freaking called.
I do too, but I know
I think it's The Penance and the Patience.
I know the big song. I would not, if you even say the name of it, I would not remember. But
We
I
Want
know
Guarantees, Not Hunger Pains. Yeah, that one.
I also very lucky to see Closure in Moscow the first time a year ago.
Ooh, okay.
And I feel like I always had this idea about them, and their album that came out in 2023, I loved. If you don't know that they put out an album in 2023, if you have not heard it, if you've been like putting it aside, please listen to it. I didn't really get, and still kind of am not like super into like their 2014 album. They kind of lost me with the very like psychedelic vibe, but the new album is so good. When they were on tour, me and my friends were talking to the guitarist, and I was like, I love the boomer bends. The boomer bends are so good. They like really make this album so special. And he was like blushing. He was like, oh my God, really? And I was like, yes, it's so good. And he liked that compliment. But I don't know. The album is very baby girl. It's got some gender stuff
Hmm.
going on. It's very baby girl.
I love that. That's good. That's very
It's,
crucial to me specifically. So I'm going to look into that.
have you heard it, or is this like new to
No.
you? It's
And
I was like, dang, why is this very baby girl? And me and my friends at the time were like, yeah, this is. Like, and some of it is just like silly, like it's like blah 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 Discord kitten and like just throwing out like funny shit. But then we saw them live and it was very baby girl.
I am
And
very
so
excited.
yeah, if anyone likes like kind of in a I don't like comparing artists, but I'm gonna say like similar in the way that like Ollie Sykes has continuously been very baby girl.
Hmm.
So baby girl vibes and um just very fun. And I think I'm like, yeah, I love it's also a type of album that I've been loving the last few years has been like I turned 30 and I'm wiser now and I maybe went to therapy. And it's
Yeah.
very much that type of album.
It's like, again, like, and it's so interesting. I mentioned like Kurt Travis earlier, and I remember him doing press for Dance Gavin Dance, like post Happiness, around the time he got fired from the band, and he was like, "Yo, I want to sing like the singer from like Closure in Moscow," and I love Kurt to death, but I'm like, I don't know if that's the kind of vocalist that he is, and I was proven wrong when Kurt went on to make the Gold Necklace record and was just like soaring with the Eagles. And so I'm like, cool, it was always there. He just needed like the right, like, I guess, like music to like be that, just like,
That
I guess,
makes so much sense.
you know what I'm saying? Just like, oh, like, where can I like vocally take a chance on myself? Because I already know I'm that girl in the way that like I can just like get up there and like stay up there confidently. Because like there's so many like harmonies on First Temple that do a lot for me. Because I remember playing First Temple for my rock friends in 2011, and they're like, "Hey, yo, what is this mess you have on in the car, cuh? Get it out of
Yeah.
here." Played it for my
Yeah.
my personal family. My dad was not pleased with like First Temple. Just like, just
It's so good. It's so
groovy.
hard. It's like doppelganger in like a very high energy throughout. Really, I think it's also very heavy. I'm like such a sucker for post-hardcore that either has like heavy hi-hats or like heavy go-go bells. I'm just like, yes, give me more. I need
More
more of
percussion.
this. And I think that one's very like, and like a good, like funky, groovy bass line. And First Temple definitely has that. So
Yeah, like I would have like there's that, I think, track 2 on that record. I wore the just Reindeer Age is huge for me. Just
yeah,
for like, just like, again, like, just like it's like eating sugar listening to First Temple. And
yeah,
so like kudos to you for having in your top 25. I interacted with the band that same tour, 2010 Warped Tour, and like there was no line so like they all signed my record when I bought it,
that's
and
sick.
I'm just like, I didn't even ask them to, but it's
That's
just
really
like, oh,
sick.
like, like, cheers, and like they kept it moving, and I'm like, that's so cool that they do that kind of stuff. And like, I appreciate Closure for like taking chances on their sound when most bands kind of feel like stuck. We're like, we got to play breakdowns, or like we're cooked, and I'm like, not exactly. And I feel like
Did I lose you?
no, I'm here. I'm still here.
Okay, I think you froze for a second on my
Yeah, for
end.
sure. Do you know the Johnny Frank project?
Which one?
Bill Murray.
No. Oh, Bill. Yes.
Yeah, so like, just like the combination of like country and like breakdowns in like, yeah, it's like it's played for laughs, but like there's some great pop sensibilities there, and you can do that if you really want it for yourself.
That's the key if you really want it for yourself. Um yeah, I cannot say that I am a Bill Murray stan. I think I've listened and I'm I'm not putting it on my plate. I'm letting it sit at the
It's a
buffet.
thanks but no thanks kind of situation.
Yeah.
I haven't heard everything, but like I think it serves its purpose, and people need that people need like an excuse to be silly, and so like
Yeah, I like silly vibes, but I prefer to find silly vibes elsewhere.
and like we live in a world where like you can find silly all over the place. Like I dare say that like Cara Bonita like have like the silly market cornered.
Yes, and again, closure in Moscow 2 years ago. I can't believe it's almost been 2 years. Maybe later than that. But very silly vibes. Very silly.
From jump.
Cannot recommend enough. Like I said, lyrics are Discord kitten. So
excellent. Things to look forward to after the stream. I love it. I
texted my like chronically online trans femme bestie. I was like, what's a Discord kitten? She's like, you asking me this is like when your mom asks you what like
where babies come from
is. And I was like
we live in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Next 2 records, let's get it.
Okay, I'm gonna make a pit stop in MySpace world.
Let's go.
I don't want to put these bands. I don't want to put these bands together because they're very different eras. One is very, very important to me, like so deeply, probably my favorite band of all time. The other is like, damn, this is a really good album with really good production. But it's certainly a product of its time.
Oh boy.
So I love Hello Goodbye, all-time fave.
Wow.
Zombies, Vampires Deluxe. They're also a band. Like half of my like weird marketing ideas that I try to get bands to do, half of it is just stuff that Hello Goodbye did. And I'm like, this is how we can do this, but in the social media era, and it's really freaking cool. Yeah, they're so sick. The album is really cool. I really like the EP, but I didn't want to include the like. I just love Hello Goodbye so deeply. Speaking of covers, I found out they did like there was an Oingo Boingo tribute record, and they covered Weird Science, which Weird Science I've never really liked. I'm obsessed with their version, and
hell yeah. One thing I want to say about Hello Goodbye is that like I missed the boat on them. I feel like my Hello Goodbye is Owl City in like the most non-disrespectful way possible. As far as just like, you know, because I imagine it's like you go to, there are 3 houses, Hello Goodbye, Owl City, 303. And more than likely, like if you're really lucky, you went to all 3 houses, but most people just went to 2, you know?
I think that's true. I was definitely I had like the door open on Owl City. I listened to some hits, but I was really deep into 303 and
And maybe like an honorary mention to like Breathe Carolina, if I'm being honest with myself.
So my other album is Hello Fascination by Breathe Carolina. It's such a good
gas.
Like, as far as albums that I really love, like Someone is a banger. It has to be included.
Pop Perfection, I'd almost argue.
Again, if I'm being honest with myself, and I also really liked, I was thinking in its place, or like I guess adding in that same vein, Cash Take It to the Floor. If anyone remembers,
great singles on that record.
That was so core to me. It was like my entire personality when I was like 13, 14, 15. But that album hasn't aged as well. Like for the last 5 to 10 years, I'll try to listen to it and I'm like,
this is
boring. But Breathe Carolina production, I'm like, this is interesting. This is weird. This is fun. Also, okay, some lore that I'm just trying to spread to the world right now.
Let's go.
The producer of Blackout by Breathe Carolina and that entire album is Dua Lipa's producer, and he
shot
the hell off. You can hear in Waiting and a couple other songs on that album, if you go back and listen to it, it sounds like Dua Lipa. You can hear his like funky groovy DNA. And you know what else he produced? I really hope you know this. I really hope you know this because it's a deep cut. Let's Get It, We Don't Care.
Oh my, yo. Literally, I was thinking of Let's Get It when you mentioned Cash Cash. Cause like Let's Get It is they're like my ultimate like what if.
They're really good.
They really came up in a time where like no one was ready for what they were doing. Cause like
so if you go back and listen to We Don't Care, that song from back in the day sounds like Dua Lipa the most. You can hear it is so Dua Lipa coded. It's
unbelievable.
I've been forgetting names lately, but for some reason, let me look up his name because I think I know his name, but I don't want to say it out loud.
Sure.
Until I like
know for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Ian Kirkpatrick.
I know that name so well.
Yeah. He did. So my overview on Google, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, Dua Lipa, Jason Derulo, Justin Bieber, Katy Perry, Nick Jonas, Pitbull. But like, yeah, because New Rules in that Dua Lipa album, that changed.
That single? Oh, I love that single.
It set the new trend for pop music.
100%. I dare say, because like, I know like, there's like, so like, I remember like when I was like deep into like the well of K-pop, a lot of fans were like, we hate the era of choruses without words. Just like that instrumental, like bleepy bloopy.
And it's all LMFAO's fault.
Oh, 1000%.
I think about that all the time. I'm like, the way the music industry chases trends, I'm like, that's not how we need to be chasing trends. LMFAO did that, and then we had like 5 years of that bullshit.
Yeah.
We didn't need that.
I remember when
them are good. Like when just let the hit happen and then just keep it moving. We don't need to be recreating that in a different and worse way for 3 more years.
I remember when Skrillex went mainstream and like it like affected like the career path of Britney Spears. And I was like super salty about it at the time. But I feel a lot of her latter work, it still means a lot to me. I think all the way up until like her collab with like G-Eazy and like Tinashe is where I kind of felt like, okay, like this is a bit too pastiche for me. But like it was definitely like a shift. Because even when like Sonny had like his brief like foray with like K-pop groups, it didn't last for very long. And even like what like kind of like did it in for me in regards to like my like very like passionate love for his music was like finding out that he and Jordan Peterson took a picture together at some event, and I'm like, this doesn't bode well for my enjoyment of his records. He was about to drop that double record, John, and he had so many great collabs, and I'm like, this is a conflict of interest for me strongly.
Yeah. I want to say, okay, we need to keep it moving, but I want to say one more thing about Hello Goodbye. Hello Goodbye started as a ska band, and Forrest always, it took me too long to realize that they started as a ska band. And I would post so many Instagram posts talking about how they hid ska in like, their hit Touchdown Turnaround is a ska song. Like a year ago, I was in the car and I was listening to it, and I went, there's like a part where it breaks and there's just like a tiny drum that goes, and I'm like, I started singing Pick It Up, Pick It Up, Pick It Up, and I was like, wait a second. I was like, this is ska. And then we started playing it, and I was like, oh my God, this is like this like electronic like MySpacey song is ska. And then there on most of the albums, like there's usually like a song that like has some hidden ska. So yeah, Hello Goodbye and 100 Gex, my favorite ska bands apparently.
Oh, 1000%.
But yeah, so the other thing I was gonna say about Hello Goodbye, they're just really fucking good, and I really highly recommend people check out old Hello Goodbye. Yeah, they're also very silly vibes.
Very silly
vibes, but also very like well informed, and like I like to stalk people's Spotify profiles, and I found Forrest's Spotify, and he has like a first wave ska playlist, and I was like, damn, this guy is serious.
Okay.
I was like, this is why I fuck with this. I'm like a second wave ska, like die hard person. But I was like, I respect it. Like anytime someone's ska knowledge goes past like White Guys in the 90s and Mozzarella Sticks, I'm like, okay, cool.
I really want to say that like my primary foray into Hello Goodbye is their 2010 release, Would It Kill You? All those singles, ass kickers. Like
Yeah.
You Sleep
The one
Alone.
about the cutting hair.
When we first met.
Yeah, that one was like burned into my little like 2010 hipster brain.
Oh yeah, they were making a foray.
Yeah, and
kicks ass.
They really, I think the newest album was very like funk, almost soul. Like it was very, very groovy and chill, but also have. I love that any Hello Goodbye release, there's always going to be like different versions and remixes and like so many interesting ways of releasing things. And it's like, yeah, you don't have to pick like one final version of a song. You can like take a song and then do like different versions of it and give it all worlds. Like that's also something that I tell people who are dealing with
we need remix suites.
Yeah, it's like someone was like, this song is like 5 or 6 minutes. Like, I don't know if I can have a 5 or 6 minute song. And I'm like, you made the song complete. This
yes,
is your
you can.
song. I was like, make a short version, make a radio cut, like do your whole song and then do a second one. And they're like, yeah. And I was like,
I currently
you don't have to have like one final form version of a song. Like you can have an idea and then like explore different ways and they're all valid.
There's this artist on TikTok that I discovered. The name of the band is Loads of Japanese Bands. And the leader of the band, I know. The leader of the band, Roy, every time like you make a post, he was always wearing like just like a white dresser, black dress pants, and he would like play bass. And he has like this. He has a podcast that's like almost over 300 episodes long, which is just from like chronological, like just like journaling all his thoughts about like his own music and what he feels about music. And he's like, I want to like put out a release with every name of the song. It's called Midnight. And like I'm thinking like I'm like, huh? But I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Because then it's like it really like this. It really like because then it's like, okay, real listeners can be like, oh, play Midnight. Which one? And I think that's so neat. Like I'm that's like my white whale is like getting my passport, going to the UK, and be like, Roy, where are you? And I wanted to say that, like, oh, Hello Goodbye. We got to somehow get I don't know if it's happened yet. So this is maybe projecting. We need to get Hello Goodbye on the Indefensive Ska podcast. One, because like they got Patrick Stump, so they can clearly get Hello Goodbye, as far as I'm concerned. And two, we need to get Hello Goodbye somehow like working on a record with JR from Scotty Network. Because like,
have none of those things happened yet?
I don't know. And like I would hope so, but because like like. If Jared like has like a professional relationship with like Jeff Rosenstock, I know we could like get some folks in the room, like get some emails sent, because like the streets clearly need this for like the culture and like the longevity of ska. The people have to know. You know what I'm saying?
It looks like there's not an episode of him.
Yo, Aaron. Get on the phone. Get Forrest on the phone. I may have to tag some folk in some posts today.
I feel like I'm always like tagging I'm always like coming up with like weird things that I notice in Hello Goodbye songs, and I'll put them on my Instagram stories and I'll tag Forrest and Hello Goodbye, and like he looks at them and like every once in a while like he finally like commented on one of my things and was like, we started as a ska band. And I was like, why didn't I know this? Why didn't I know this? But I'm like, this man has to be tired of me just like saying weird shit.
It's them again. Oh no. Everybody loves ska. End of story. Yeah. Case closed. Next 2 records.
Yeah.
Ska now more than ever.
Okay, I want to get through. I have 2 more categories, so 4 more albums
Okay.
that are just kind of random and really off the cuff, and then we're gonna get into like the legendary, like all-timer shit, and more of the Apple list. Okay.
Let's get it.
Okay. Let's get it.
Hey.
Okay. The first, are you like? I know I mentioned yacht rock earlier. How do you feel about yacht rock? Do you have experience in that world?
I don't really have a lot of experience in that world, and like because I think like it starts and ends with like Toto, Michael McDonald,
Yeah.
and Steely Dan. That's like the extent of it for me. Maybe Hall & Oates, I suppose. Maybe.
Yeah. Do you have a history with like G-Funk and all of that era that was sampling Michael McDonald and that stuff?
To be honest with you, no.
Okay.
If I didn't hear it like at a store or on TV, no. To be honest with you.
Okay. I after watching the Yacht Rock documentary on HBO in December, I they talk about like I first of all I recommend this to anyone, even if you hate yacht rock, if you're like whatever. This documentary is so fascinating, and it's so like I thought I knew a lot about yacht rock, and I know about like more like the endings of yacht rock and how it like moved into Hawaii and Japan and became a very like global.
City Pop.
Yes, I'm literally like yacht rock is the reason that Animal Crossing is called New Horizons, because New Horizon is like such a trope in yacht rock. And even the colors of Animal Crossing, it's yellow and blue. And like, I can give you like some albums to look up, but the Japanese releases for yacht rock in the early 80s, it was very like neon blue and yellow were like the main colors. And sometimes you would see like some other colors thrown in there. But that, like, I'm like, so much of Japan pop culture, especially in the 80s, like is built around yacht rock. And we see that today in certain references. And that's why like Animal Crossing, it's like tropical on an island, like very yacht rock influenced.
I would never consider like KK Ryder or KK Slider as like a yacht rock guitarist, but
it is
amazing.
So that's like my knowledge about yacht rock. And then also when we talk about the music industry picking up on a trend and just replicating it in really dumb ways, when Christopher Cross put out Sailing in that album, I thought that that's when yacht rock started. And I still think that's where you start getting the nautical themes. His like hit song that won the Grammy, Sailing. Now for 3 more years, we have Everyone and Their Mom on my yacht rock playlist. You can like check it out. It's like Dolly Parton, the Carpenters, like everyone is now having some nautical song called Sailing.
Oh my
and like
gosh.
Getting in on that. And it's just like, but they're doing it, it's boring and not good. And
fired.
But the yacht rock documentary, they take a really different focus, and they talk about like the beginnings, like what led up to that moment of like Steely Dan and then the Doobie Brothers, and how they're fusing like soul and funk and like kind of like that blend. And because soul and funk was so blended into yacht rock, then we had the like funk and disco bands for the 80s bringing in yacht rock now that like disco was like not as popular and stuff. And so they were borrowing from that. And then they talk about how like that influenced like G-Funk a lot. So after the documentary, I have been listening nonstop to yacht rock. A little bit of Georgie Porgy by Toto has been my favorite. And so I am going on a tangent right now. I just really want to
go in. Yeah.
And this is going to like lead to a lot of the other stuff we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Georgie Porgy by Toto, Ride Like the Wind by Christopher Cross. Those have been like the 2 that are on repeat. And then I was like, also like, it reminded me I need to like go listen to more G-Funk and Nate Dogg. And so I was listening to a lot of Nate Dogg. And then that led me, clearly the G-Funk that's all like sampling yacht rock, it's also sampling Rick James, and I'm a huge Tina Marie fan. So then I started listening to some Rick James songs that I hadn't like always listened to. And also my favorite thing about having a brain injury, I kind of hate it because I'm fuzzy on certain pop culture knowledge. Like I've always been so pop culture brained, but my brain injury definitely like took some of that away. But it's fun because now I get to learn things for the first time multiple times. And I knew that Rick James was close to Eddie Murphy, and I knew that they had music together. But I lost the detail that it was Party All the Time. Like that's the song that Rick James made for Eddie Murphy. Like, what are you talking about? And like, so I've had that on repeat for a month, for over a month, since like Christmas Eve. I have listened to Party All the Time at least 5 times a day. And I have multiple covers. Thank You Scientist did a cover.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was posting, I kept Rick James and Party All the Time posting on Blue Sky, and someone sent me a different cover that was, I think it was like a ska cover, because I've like tapped into like the ska community on Blue Sky. And that was really good. I don't remember. I feel like because I'm mentioning it, I need to shout this out and say,
please.
But I can't remember off the top of my head. But I liked it. Young Costello, Party All the Time. It's like
Young Costello.
It's a good ska vibe. So yeah, I've been listening to Party All the Time. Mary Jane. Okay. I have this like burning question that I want to ask you. I don't know if like your music history will like. I'm assuming you might be like a good person to ask this question to.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Okay.
Which is, I want to ask you this question and then we'll keep going and marinate on it before.
Sure. Okay.
Because I always had this like understanding, and I think through this like new hyperfixation, which Rick James is probably like my ultimate problematic fave.
Yeah.
I want to preface this like I'm not
scandal acknowledged.
I'm not like I love Tina Marie so much, and
may she rest in peace.
She's my favorite producer of all time. But obviously her ties to Rick James are very prominent.
It sucks.
Yeah. And I really hate when people are like, but he's so talented, but Rick James is that person for me.
Yeah, I feel you.
Like, you know, when people say that, I can think of a few people. I don't
a bunch of folks. Yeah, for sure.
But his voice, they're so good. And I'm like, fuck you, they're terrible. But that's how I feel about Rick James.
That's how a lot of people feel about Rick James.
Yeah, but okay. So my question is, now today in 2025, now that all is said and all of like cultural impact, my favorite thing about pop culture and music, it's not just the music, it's the cultural impact. So full total cultural impact of memes, legacy,
all of it,
everything. Who do you think has had a greater cultural impact on the world, Rick James or Prince? Because I always thought that I knew the answer.
That's a really good question.
I think my answer might be changing now.
What's your answer? Before I say mine, what's yours?
No. I want you to marinate on this.
Shit.
I want you to marinate on this.
That's a really great question.
I'm so glad that
wow.
So I'm so glad that you are the right person to ask this, because I was like, I think you are, but thank you. I'm glad we're like rocking on the same page.
That may be like that is one of the most important questions I've ever been asked about music in my entire life.
Because I think their legacies are so different, and what they're known like it's
1000%.
And like I don't even mean this in like a playing into the beef kind of way.
I know.
But I like it's like they're so in the same lane in some ways, but like the way that they're remembered and the way I feel like Prince's legacy is always tied back to Prince, but Rick James, there's
so everywhere.
It's everywhere, but people don't always associate it with Rick James. Like I was like I was showing my friend something. I was showing my friend Party All the Time. She's like, no, I've never heard this song ever. And I was like explaining the cultural thing. And I was like, have you seen the Dave Chappelle? And she's like, oh, I thought that was like James Brown, and I was like, no.
Oh no, we're
was like,
losing
no, that
recipes.
Rick James said that. But yeah, so there's so many things that's like, I think most people know that that's Rick James. So I think that's like an outlier for my friend. But like, there are so many things that he's done that people don't know are attributed to him. So that's why I'm like, I guess that gives away my answer. I'm like, Prince is Prince. Everyone loves Prince. But like Rick James is just kind of like Rick James and over there. But now I'm like, he's so soaked into like memes and different aspects of culture. So I'm kind of like, damn, maybe like, I don't know.
All I want to say real quick is that a big shout out from Mike the Snare, one of my favorite YouTubers who does the deep Discog dive. And I watched his video on Prince last year, and like I highly encourage folks to watch that because Prince put out a lot of stuff, and like due to like his very private nature, you may have never known had he not passed and the estates like put it all on the DSPs. Everyone needs to hear everything. And just like the folks that he worked with and just like the songs that he wrote for other people. I think like I hate to say the easy answer is Rick James, only because like what he's done is celebrated by everyone around him. Like just like the issues he had with Michael Jackson, and like how Michael Jackson, or rather Quincy Jones, had Toto in the studio for Thriller and things of that nature. And just how like I kind of feel like freak out, like it's very very Rick James coded. And just like I guess like African American men experimenting with like their look, their presentation and stuff like that. You were gonna say something, I cut you off.
I was trying to interrupt you, and I apologize for that. But what you said reminded me of, this is also another bit of lore that I wanted, like something that blew my mind very recently was there's this account, they're really well known and I can't think of the name, but they did like mashups of music from every year and they go through the 80s. And since I've been in this phase, I was listening to like 1979, 1980, 1981, which 1980 and 1981, like any music from that time, there's so much fusion. It's like really like my jam. But for 1981, they put they had Give It To Me Baby, and it had the people who made it had like a list of all the songs, and on the only like they just put the timestamp and then the song that's there, or like the video reference of like what song is, so people know. And there's no explanation except for on Give It To Me Baby by Rick James, it said BTW Thriller copied this song. And I was like, wait, what? And then which again, I've been listening to Party All the Time 5 times a day for the last month. I've also been listening to Give It To Me Baby a lot because obviously, and also 50 Cent just brought that back into the
lexicon.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to get into those details, but
yeah, for sure.
The 50 Cent meme, which I also don't. I feel like I do, since I did bring it up. I do not approve of the use of generative AI, but if you're gonna do it, I think that was a really good use of it. Anyway,
scandal acknowledged.
I do not approve of the use, but it was very funny. Back to so I've been listening to Give It To Me Baby, and I go listen to Thriller, and it's the like I was like, oh shit, I can hear it. Yeah, and I was like, oh, it is Give It To Me Baby, just like they added a lot more, but the core of it,
that core, like, yeah, that foundation, yeah.
And then knowing how, because I like Thriller, like the cultural impact and the way that Quincy Jones like was like it changed how albums are marketed, obviously, and like this is going to be like a hit album, like it's the blueprint, and I respect that so much. But obviously when you're making an album like that, every song is kind of just like it's an amalgamation of a specific vibe that they're trying to recreate for that song. It's great, like the album is so great and it's so good on its own, but it still is obviously like you said with them in the studio, like you know, they're trying to have a lot of the songs fit a vibe that already exists and then put their own spin on it, which is great. But yeah, they all had to start somewhere. So that Thriller started with Give It To Me Baby. Um,
I'm definitely gonna I'm gonna have to find a way to keep that question just resurging every so often because I don't think it's one that a lot of folk would even consider even pondering. So
yeah.
kudos to you for that.
I want to mention Living Abstraction in the comments. Yes, I have been listening to Regulate. That has been in my rotation since listening to the Yacht Rock documentary. Definitely a classic. Yeah.
Quick side note, I want to hear more of your records. Did you ever listen to that one Thundercat record?
Yes.
Wow, just yes. The specifically the one Drunk, where
Yes.
he has that one single with Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald.
It's on my Yacht Rock playlist called Not Like Other Yacht Rock. I'm plugging it, Not Like Other Yacht Rock. And it's also on my playlist called New Yacht. It's in you.
New Yachts. That's
Yacht.
so funny.
And it's I have that song. I have Mac DeMarco has a very Yacht Rock song, which also Thundercat and Mac DeMarco were both in the Yacht Rock documentary.
Not surprised at all. Yeah.
I saw them within the first 3 minutes and I was like, okay, this is about to be very good. They mean business. This documentary means business. And they, like I said, really, really recommend it to, there was someone else and I can't remember his name. I know him, but I'm blanking, who was in it. And it was very serious. And
Shot in the dark. Was it Blood Orange?
I don't think so.
Okay, that was just me projecting, honestly, because I know that LA loves Dev Hynes, and I just wanted to see if I don't know.
For brain reasons, I really struggle with specific names. Even
You're good.
I know who I'm thinking, but I don't want to be caught oh, I don't know my shit. So or even just saying names. When it's I don't want to have someone's name in my mouth if I don't know exactly who they are.
I feel you, yeah. Scrolling and searching. LA, thanks for joining us, dog. Joining all the way from across the freaking universe.
Okay, yeah, it was Questlove. That's what I'm thinking. Questlove. It says
the Goats.
It says Questlove and Constantino, along with Thundercat, Mac DeMarco, and Paramore's Brian Robert Jones in the documentary.
Oh, shoot!
Shows how today's younger musicians have embraced yacht rock. So yes, and then it has Michael McDonald, dude from Toto. It has everyone. It has everyone in there.
Sick.
Yeah, it's really good. They open up with Fred Armisen. I'm going to talk some shit on Fred Armisen. They open up with him. I was like, why is Fred Armisen here? He doesn't need to be here. And I was questioning everything. And then almost immediately after, it's Thundercat and Mac DeMarco. And I was like, okay, I trust y'all. And then we didn't see Fred Armisen at all until that end. So I'm like, I wonder if he was just a producer and they had to give him some. Yeah. Because I don't think he kind of had the stereotypical kind of I don't think he had anything to
pastiche.
Say. He didn't have anything to say that really fit the vision of what the documentary was going for. So I think they gave him a quick couple seconds at the beginning and the end.
Tell you a little joke spread.
Yeah. But it was very good and thoughtful, and I just think everyone should watch this, even if you hate yacht rock. I think it's really cool and helpful. So
very cool.
Yeah, which also, speaking of that, I'm just going to say this very quickly, my yacht rock albums that I will get out of the way. Well, also, this kind of isn't yacht rock. And also, I'm sure no one knows this music, but I will say, listen if you like some horns and some fun vibes and maybe a little bit of new wave. Haircut 100, their album Pelican West, they were a UK new whatever band and new wave, and it's just horns. It's so good. I listen to them with Hello Goodbye a lot. Their music videos are really cute on the internet. They're definitely from that era, like 1980. So if you like that music, check it out. And also my uncle's band,
Ooh.
If You Believe, that album by Toby Bo, it came out, I think 1981, and it was
Mhm.
part of that push of yacht rock to Japan. It was through RCA Records, but you can't find it unless you like go on the internet, and then you can find like some CDs on Japanese websites, and it's like the Japanese releases. I'd like grown up seeing them like play shows and stuff, mostly like cover shows, and they spent a lot of time doing cruise ships in Hawaii, which I think
Fun.
the fact that they were doing it in Hawaii is also kind of a reference to yacht rock. Before he was like a solo artist as Toby Bo, he had a band and they toured with the Doobie Brothers. I didn't care or like know about any of this shit until I was 17, and I was at boarding school and I was visiting home for like a week during spring break, and I found their CD and I was like, you know what? Like, let me just listen to this. And I was kind of like, it's my uncle's band. Like, some of their other music I don't really love. Let me listen to this album. Like, it's cool and neon. Like, I like the album cover. It changed my life. It's so good. And I like
Wow.
it literally made me like listening to it is why I fell in love with yacht rock. And it's so like I love it. It's so cool and good. It's not really, you can find it. Someone uploaded it to YouTube. It's Toby Bo, like Beau. Someone uploaded it to YouTube, and they're pulling a Taylor Swift. They're like re-recording some of the songs, so only like a few of them are available on Spotify.
Yeah, I found some like the best of stuff on there.
Yeah, but I don't know, it's really good.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. And then the other Japanese, they call it like West Coast sound, like California sounds back in the day when it was like yacht rock, is Rick Matthews, Rick without a K, and Matthews with only one T. And
Wow.
it was like California Cologne, I think. And there are a couple songs on there that are really good and kind of fit that vibe. So I don't have much else to say about that because I don't think anyone knows about those. So they're more just like recommendations of things that have
We'll go down the rabbit hole. I love that.
And then I'll also get two more. This is like my hyper pop brat, like indie sleaze kind of stuff. Charlie XCX, How I'm Feeling Now, her pandemic.
Ooh, her lockdown record.
It's so good. It's
great singles in that one.
It's my favorite. Yeah. And it's very like honest. She's one of my favorite lyricists. Her and Fraxium are unironically, so earnestly my favorite lyricists. And my deeper cut for like OG indie sleaze, a lot of what Charlie XCX was like referencing on Brat is an album called CSS Alala. There's a song called
CSS.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know about them because of So You Think You Can Dance, featured one of their songs. And I'm like, I've never heard anything like this before.
Yeah. They were in the realm of like the Ting Tings and like definitely that era. But I love Art Bitch and Alala, I think is my favorite song off of that is Alala.
Very cool. Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's a deep pull. Holy crap.
So
that was in 8th grade in 2006. Wow.
It's so good. I'm very into like that whole scene, but if I had to pick like one that is like truly my favorite, it is that album.
Yo, big kudos for that one. What else you got for us?
Okay, now we're into kind of the legacy acts, the like big kind of like all-time whatever. It's like not my niche stuff anymore. And
right,
we can
roll out the red carpet.
The actual Apple list, because we're going fully into the Tina Marie and Rick James,
okay,
Marvin Gaye and stuff. So I feel like Marvin Gaye was on the list, but I want to switch that out for what is really my favorite album of his, and it's one of my favorite albums of all time. So I don't know, like, should I start swapping out the Apple list?
Let me just as a reminder, did I remove any? I don't think I've removed any Marvin.
Am I allowed to remove an album that's already been removed by someone else?
No, you may not.
Well, how do I know what's already been removed?
Okay, you know what? Here, because like I did mention at the top of the stream, but like if you pick one, I'll go through the list and I'm like, oh, it's already on. Pick something else.
Okay,
I got you.
Cool. Because I have the. It'll be easy because I can pick off a lot of them.
Word. Okay.
I want to say for the record which ones I would keep on there.
Sure.
Which is Flower Boy,
Same.
Fleetwood Mac Rumors, Control by Janet Jackson. I know you said it's been removed, and I'm like, that's one of the few I would keep on there.
And here's the thing, like, because the guy who removed it, my good friend, good old Los, he put, what did he put back? I think he wanted to put a different Janet record up there, and I think it's I forget which one he picked. So if you want to put Control back, I'm not going to stop you.
Okay, we'll probably have to do that.
Okay.
Discovery by Daft Punk, I think absolutely
same. Keep it there, yeah.
And I love Solange. I love Solange so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the few for the artists that I really liked. I think Solange and Tyler the Creator, those are the only albums that I'm like, yes, I would actually pick those. And Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys.
That's a big one for me.
Yeah, those are the only ones that I'm like, you picked the right album for this artist. I did like Arctic Monkeys, AM. I kept that on my list, but
interesting.
That album for me, like it's a good album, but it's also the type of album where every song is the same song. It's just the same song recycled for a whole list. And I think a lot of the earlier music is more interesting, but I don't think they're better out. Like they're just kind of like random. Like I liked all their singles from the other songs. You know what I mean? Yeah. I also thought it was really interesting. I'm not taking this out or. You said people already removed Prince, and that's surprising to me.
I removed Sign of the Times. That was my decision because I'm like, if we're gonna have one Prince record, it might as well be Purple Rain, just for like the legacy itself.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, okay, I know people love Prince, but was he the only person who had 2 albums on the list?
Beyonce had 2, Radiohead had 2, the Beatles had 2.
Okay, the Beatles make sense. Radiohead is kind of weird.
Very.
Out of everyone there. But yeah, I clocked that on Prince and I was like, Sign of the Times is great, but I don't think I wouldn't make
it's kind of not approachable.
These 2 have to be there. They're the same in influence.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I guess so I got through the ones that I actually like.
Word.
So now we'll work on removing some. So I'm gonna move some over from my list for what I want to.
I'm taking notes about that. You want to put Control back onto the list.
Okay, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6.
Tough, right?
Okay. I think I counted. Well, I have them in 2 categories. I had my own list.
Sure.
And okay, so I think I have 10.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the ones because some of them are ones we've already talked about. So later I'll just choose which ones I want to switch them out for.
Okay.
But out of the ones that we haven't talked about, I'll start with the ones that are already on there that I want to switch out.
Okay.
Yeah. So very happy to put Control by Janet Jackson back on there. I'm glad that I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Has Bob Marley Exodus already been taken out?
It's so funny. Like when we did the second stream, I forgot that I wanted to do that.
Well, You're welcome. At first
Cheers, for real.
I was like, why would this was the main one, the first one that I was like, why the heck would you pick that album for Bob Marley? And then I remember that I got in a conversation on Blue Sky about someone was like, it was like a professor somewhere, and he was like, it's wild that the phrase like singing Kumbaya has been like changed in like pop culture to like be perceived as like someone being like naive and hopeful when it's like an expression of people trying to find hope in the most desperate situations and signs, and like knowing that nothing you can do can change, and it's more of like a spiritual thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this taps into like a long running thing that I've understood, that like reggae and ska, the legacies have been so flattened and like
Yes.
not seen. Like people want to talk about Bob Marley's legacy, and I'm like, this man's talking about a revolution. You've heard like an album called Uprising. He literally, even his like most famous songs, you've heard I Shot the Sheriff. Like, what do you think that song is about? Like the 8 Cab Baddies need to be getting onto some Bob Marley, but when I try to say that, I sound like those stoner kids, the stoner white kids in the 90s movies. So I can't, I feel like I'm not allowed to say that. But like, I'm like, y'all, yeah. If you want a revolution, if you want whatever, you need to get into some ska and some reggae. So that's also what I'm kind of trying to do. So Exodus, I would switch with Kaya, obviously. I think Kaya should have been that. I love Could You Be Loved from Uprising, but Uprising as an album isn't major for me. I think Kaya is like the biggest Bob Marley and the Wailers album.
That's real.
Yeah.
What else?
Outcast, Aquemini. I think that should obviously be Speaker Box in the Love Below.
You really think so?
What? To me, that's obvious. But maybe I'm missing out on some context. But
I will put that on. I know, because I know that like, because Good Old Los was like on his soapbox when it came to like the Outcast selection, and so I would highly recommend you or anyone listening who hasn't heard of Aquemini to put it on. It's kind of a dense listen, to be honest with you, and I think a good companion with like helping you like come into your own with Outcast is the work that like Dissect via Spotify did with like they had like this like they had like this project where they try to pick the perfect like Outcast song, and so both like the main host Cole Kushner and one of his good buddies who like works at Complex, they just like episode by episode, album by album, just like delineated like the best shit they've ever done. So like Aquemini's up there for a lot of like the real like backpackers in the hip hop scene, but I'm still going to acknowledge it. And I'm taking it out for now. It's probably one of those records that comes on and off the whole time. Okay. So do not feel bad.
Because I am really interested in that, because I love Andre 3000. I love Outkast. Like I'm very, I would love to like continue doing more deep dives. So I will absolutely listen to that.
For sure.
Has anyone taken out Marvin Gaye?
I think which number is that on here?
It was What's Going On. It was it was towards the top, like closer towards number 1.
Oh, no wonder. Okay.
The 30s or lower.
It's so funny because Living Abstraction, who's here with us today, he chose his like collaboration for with Ain't No Mountain High Enough as like his selection to put onto the list. So I'm okay with that.
Was it in place of?
He didn't take it off. No, he didn't take it off.
Okay. I see. So that's okay. Since we're now that I'm getting into the assignment a little bit better, I don't think I want
Yeah.
to swap this out for. I think if someone can have 2 albums on the list, I think Marvin Gaye can do it, so maybe I can switch it out for some other album.
Like currently, Janet Jackson has 2 records on the list. So,
What's the other one?
Janet from 1993.
I think that's fair for.
We owe Janet Jackson a life debt. So,
Yeah. I'm like, Prince can only have 1, but Janet Jackson can do 2.
you can have everything.
Marvin Gaye, I mean, the thing for me, like, I think What's Going On does deserve that in like an objective sense. But one album that I would really love for more people to listen to, I feel like it's like the weird forgotten stepchild of Marvin Gaye albums for like kind of for good reasons, because it was after his like kind of flop album, and Motown was just like, bitch, give us something, and they kind of like took it without his permission and was like, we're just doing it. But it's In Our Lifetime ? And it's a very like, it's my favorite song that's about sex and God and LSD. Not a lot of albums that are very clearly about those things all together in one. But that is, and it's very good, and it's like a big part of like, it's something that I like meditate on spiritually. Like if I wake up in the morning and I put the album on, like I'm having a great day.
That's real. Hell yeah.
Yeah. But it's very weird, and it's kind of yacht rocky because again, it came out in 1981. So it's like everything that came out in 1981, I probably like.
That's
which
real.
I have 3 other albums that I'm going to put in from
Okay.
1981.
Hey, you gotta.
Okay, wait. So I have to decide what I want to swap out Marvin Gaye for.
Let's see. Because I'm looking at, I'm making sure I'm taking notes of everything. You have given us 3 so far that are like coming off.
Okay. How many have I given you to put on?
Technically speaking, you've given me Control, Kaya, Speaker Box, In Our Lifetime. You've given me 4.
Okay. Can I take out Pure Heroin by Lorde?
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool.
As our first like white contributor to the list, yeah, you have the authority to do that.
I'm the first white bitch.
The first Wahite to contribute. I still have like two more whites to like to call upon to contribute to the list.
I think anyone has the authority to remove Lorde. Lorde is not that important.
I do like that album though. I have a lot of joints that I really like on it.
That I like a lot of albums that didn't make the so I like it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But, if Prince can't, if Sign of the Time, if we can't have 2 Prince albums, we don't need Lorde. Like, okay. So my next one, let's go back to doing two at a time. And
sure, that's fine.
My next 2, not to take away from Tina Marie, because Tina Marie, I think, stands on her own, and I think she's very
damn
like
right.
The student outdid the master. And I think maybe some people don't know that she had from like Fire and Desire, or whatever her like Into the Fire, into the whatever her like, it was something about fire, her album, from that album to It Must Be Magic. She on her own produced all of those albums, and I think because she was so close to Rick James, people don't give her the credit she deserves as being her own producer. And when she was asked about it, she's like, what about it? It comes very naturally to me to tell men what to do. My favorite producer. She produced Square Biz all on her own. She was the first person to put rap in an R&B song. So yeah, It Must Be Magic, the album with Square Biz. My favorite song is the title track, It Must Be Magic. Revolutionistic. I think that belongs on there. As well as Rick James Street Songs, those are the two albums. Those are the other two from 1981 that I want to put on there. And I think I thought it was like my own version of the 100, and I was gonna like change it. So I was like, I think it would be really funny to take out Thriller and put Street Songs. But if we're contributing to like a general list, I'm like, no, I'm not taking out Thriller.
Well, someone else can do that.
If someone really wants to take Thriller, I'm like, no, I think Thriller deserves its place.
It hasn't been touched yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, so I'd be really interested if someone removes that, but it's not going to be me. So let me find two to remove to replace those with.
Okay, cool. You got 4 more to add.
Yeah. It's harder to remove them now. You said someone already removed Rihanna.
Yeah, we like me and Living Abstraction were united on taking Anti out, but Haystack West was giving me grief. He's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Ah."
Do you still have both Radiohead in the list?
You can take out the other one if you want to, because I would be more than happy to do so.
Okay, let's do that. I don't really care that much about Radiohead.
I'm a big Radiohead person, but they betrayed me in a political way, so they can kick rocks. They can jog on, as they say, across the pond.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I was like, because just because this is like my third time bringing it up, and I'll keep on bringing it up until they do something about it. They got booked in Tel Aviv in 2018, and like people are like, maybe don't play there, and they're like, okay, gonna go play there anyway. And Johnny Greenwood, his partner is Israeli, and they're like, bruh, and they're like, and so this year, like because like Tom and Johnny are in that trio, the Smile, and people like came to their show to protest, and Tom York like stomped off the stage. And they're like, what's the problem? And I don't remember what he said, but like, I guess he beat around the bush. And so Roger Waters called him a prick. And I'm just like, in the past, like Radiohead has very like been like openly critical of the Crown and things of that nature. So I don't know how this is like a reach for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, that's a choice, fellas.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, for sure. So that's we got rid of Kid A, so now we're getting rid of the other one. Can't even think of the name now. Ironically, I own them both on CD because like they were crucial listens as a younger person. Yeah, OK Computer, that's what it was called. I'm sure some hipsters like just like giving me the Arthur fist in the comments, like, what do you mean you forgot OK Computer? And I'm like, because there's bigger fish to fry.
I feel like if we literally sat here and I've been talking about ska and post-hardcore, I think it's very clear that I don't have like a sophisticated indie hipster. Like that's of zero concern to me, honestly.
I feel it. Ooh, I want to make sure I acknowledge that comment. I see you, LA. I see you.
What? Let me see. He's got good comments. Interesting.
I was unaware of this.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, we got 5 left.
Have we taken out Casey Musgraves yet?
We have not taken out Golden Hour. And I want to like call myself out for Golden Hour because like I was mentioning how like I feel like the industry at large kind of like used Casey Musgraves for her marketability, including her looks. And I'm like, the way I said it sounds really like out of character for me. And I wanted to apologize on stream to like Casey Musgraves because like I have no business like commenting on anybody's looks at any time. And then I was just like, not necessary. Like I feel like everything else that I said about like that whole ordeal for winning album of the year, like we can chat about that till the cows come home. But like me mentioning like like she's easy on the eyes, therefore no, there's no need for that, and I will like wrap myself on the knuckles for that.
She won album of the year.
Oh yeah, for Golden Hour.
I don't remember that having that much of an impact.
It didn't, and like it just annoyed me personally because I'm like, this is a good album, but she's not a household name. So what are y'all trying to do here for real?
I don't think she's built up the legacy that the other artists on this list have.
Yeah, and most likely, and like honestly, she probably will, but like exclusively to just like hipsters and like actual country fans.
Yeah, she totally could. I don't know. She's not really. I think on Star-Crossed there were like a few songs that I liked, but I still had to stomach and get through the weird like Christian trad wife vibes of it because it was very actively ugh. But there were some aspects that I liked, you know.
Let's
How
see.
many? So I still need to.
You still get to like put 4 more albums back into the list.
And then I need to take out 5 more.
You only need to take out 4 more.
Okay. Oh, okay. Because we did Radiohead.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are there more white people that need to be seen?
Oh shit.
Is that what I'm here to do?
No, like okay, but like since we're here, what are your thoughts on Oasis?
I'm anti-Britpop for a lot of reasons.
Oh shit.
We can start with Nardwuar. I'm very team Nardwuar.
Oh, that's right, because like the homies from Oasis were like basically like bullying my unk. Yeah, that was
Blur was the worst.
Oh, that was who it was. It was Blur who did that. Yeah.
But that whole, I think that is so indicative of the attitude around Britpop. And there's a lot of stuff in the 90s. Something was going on. Maybe something was in the water in the 90s where every bitch alive was like, no, this is like really the hardest shit. Like this is real punk. This is like real, like whatever you were into. It was always like, are you really into this or are you a poser? And I think, but the stuff that everyone thought was real, like I feel like the 90s was like the first time that things started getting really commercialized and like big box and like, I'm like, all this stuff that you're saying is real shit. It's like, no, that's just some like packaged, like consumerist vibe because you live in the suburbs. And I think Britpop is like the music version of that, where it's just like very like mediocre. Like I just really would love to like actively hate like mediocre white men. And a lot of Britpop is just that. And I'm like,
girl, give us nothing.
Like, what are you talking? Like, how are you gaslighting me into saying that Britpop is like the best shit ever? Like, no, it's literally boring and stupid. And also, Team Jay-Z on his fucking.
One time we can actually say that, yeah.
Actually, no.
Didn't mean to say you put that trap card there, but yeah.
I am not Team Jay-Z in any other situation than
trolling the Oasis on like the main stage.
Sorry, I'm speaking in a very
context is included. You're so good.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Oasis is going on the list. Get out of here.
That moment is a very clear representation of what is wrong with Oasis, Britpop, that whole scene. That's very like, it's cool because a white guy said it was cool. The most boring white guy you've ever met said it was cool, so we're gonna take them seriously.
Not for nothing, I love like Champagne Supernova. That shit cranks, and I love their one single Falling Down because it was like the theme song to an anime that I still haven't watched. But like that's about like the majority of like their contribution that I cannot deny.
Yeah, yeah, they have some shit, but I'm
A whole album, I don't know about all that.
yeah. Cool. So I'm happy to take that out. And
Word.
then I'll add. Okay, wait. I'm going in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. Yeah, because you said I need to give 4 more. Okay.
Damn,
So
I
my
can't
4
count for
more
shit. Yeah, 4 more to like,
are
4 more to take off and 4 more to add to the list. I'm thinking it was like 4-4. It was like 5-4 actually.
It is 5-4.
It was 5-4, but then you put Oasis on the list. Now we're 4-4 for sure.
Okay.
4-4 for real.
I actually, now that we're going through this, I need to reevaluate the assignment.
Okay, cool. That's fine. It happens.
Because I'm gonna tell you what the 4 were, because I was like,
okay.
I asked, okay, this is the only blame I will put on you. I said, when I'm choosing to which I want to add, is it like objective or is it like me, my personal taste? And you were like, your personal taste. And now I'm like, okay. But if I put something on here, like all the rest that I had are like the very niche, like the Fall of Troy Doppelganger and like some niche shit on there. And I'm like, okay, if I'm saying Prince can't have a second album, I can't put Fall. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, this isn't the assignment. So I was gonna put my Charli XCX choice, How I'm Feeling Now. And honestly, I think I'm gonna be brave and do Charli XCX Brat instead, because Brat did have like
significant cultural impact that we'll reflect on years from now.
Yes, absolutely. I will put Charli XCX on there. So we'll do Charli XCX Brat. And so now, okay, I need to marinate on the, there's no, let me think about putting a ska album on there. What is
That'd
like
be
the
stupendous. That'd be stupendous. Hey, big shout out to Hepcat, because like I feel like I never gave them a chance until after like their vocalist passed away, and I hate that for myself because I love Dance With Me so much.
I feel like Hepcat is pretty hidden though. Like it's hard to get, even if you're going into the ska pipeline, like it's hard to find Hepcat for some reason.
That's so interesting. Wow.
I feel like they're kind of on their own little island, like doing their own thing. They're not really like
Catbite, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what the like biggest ska, like most influential ska album would be.
You know what? I think I already know the answer.
Madness or the Specials?
I was gonna say Op Ivy.
Really?
I don't want to give Homeboy too much kudos because like I have a life beef with him, but like that was like, speaking of Catbite, like their fundraising with Laura Jane Grace like only shows like that album is still like doing numbers in the streets. But again, like I feel like it's also kind of niche in like the punk scene as far as like ska punk is concerned and things of that nature.
I think because the other like niche thing that I was gonna put on there was Fishbone. And then so I'm thinking of like something that either like past maybe Sublime.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't wanna,
but yeah, I agree.
That or like, because I was thinking Tragic Kingdom maybe, or the Specials, like it's like that's who I want to give the credit for, but that still is like a little more niche.
Yeah, and I don't think I really like the Specials. I don't think I need to give them more time because I don't really know a lot of them. I only know like the big single, you know, and I hate that for myself because I don't like Our House.
The thing about the Specials, they're not a band. I know
that's Madness. My bad. That's Madness. I apologize.
Our Houses, but I guess, were you saying like big single and you were talking about Our House? Because when you said big single, I thought you meant Do Nothing.
Yeah, I do. I can safely say that I do not know anything about the Specials. So
Okay, I know a few people who listen to the Specials and they say they love the Specials, and I'm gonna take that at their word as they love, like, listening to the Specials. I
Mm.
will say that for me, the Specials is, like, they were kind of like the core two-tone, like, at the center of the movement, and also my soapbox is, like, talking about how the two-tone ska movement in the UK is the most important and the most effective workers' rights movement that we've had since the Industrial Revolution.
Fucking period.
And anyone who hates Reagan, like anyone again who wants a revolution, who wants like who wants to be doing things differently, we really need to be paying attention to that movement because it is everything Reagan put in place was to prevent that from happening in the United States. Because it's
Mm.
really bad if people empathize with people who are different from them. So yeah, what I'm trying to say though is the Specials so important politically and so important in that movement and the social integration and all of that stuff. Like they were like doing the record label that was big. And but to me, right now, when I want to listen to music and I want something that's good to my ears, their stuff is a little hard to. It's I know the music. A lot of it is very political and important and a great message and good to learn from. But once I turned 20 and I was not like I already got the political message, I was like, yeah, this is so cool. It's not something that I still play often. You know what I
I
mean?
feel you.
It's not
It has time and place.
yeah, it's slow. It's less listenable to me. But
Mm.
very important band. Yeah, not something that I just turn on and listen to in the background.
Would you say they fit? Would you say they like they qualify to be on the list?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think Madness. It's hard for me to put because Madness is all they were in that time, but they're all like white guys, and it's kind of
They're
different.
kind of hokey, yeah.
Yeah, which I'm not trying to not just in a simple like, oh, they're white. Like it's like
You can
a
have
little
sauce and be white, but like it's just like, is it appropriate to put like a white ska band that's like the one rep into like the 100 list?
especially during that scene at that time when it was ska was specifically like the social integration of it, like that was the whole point. But I do think Madness and then No Doubt or Sublime. I don't know if I had to choose. Like I'm like, what? But it sucks that that's also a reflection of like how whether intentionally or unintentionally, it's gonna be like white artists taking music is gonna get further and bigger and have a greater impact when something's niche. So
Tale as old as time. Quite as kept. I'm straight just putting the GR record in my top 100 because I'm going last, and I'm just putting like Bothered Unbothered as like my ska rep when like the time comes because like I was flabbergasted to see Fantano review it, and that's not me being shady to Jer. It's just that like I forget that Fantano has like he has ears and eyes everywhere, and
yeah,
just like put over like our underground kings. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, he does that sometimes. Okay. I think I want to do Madness.
Bet.
Just
okay.
Since I need to fill things a little bit. So I will I can't remember the name of the album.
I'm looking it up right now as we speak. Is it the One Step Beyond?
Yeah.
Bet.
They're also banned. It's hard because One Step Beyond, yeah, let's put it on there, but it's like I was also explaining to someone last night that like Tyler the Creator for me, like it's not like one of his albums like really speaks to me. It's like it's a few songs from each album that I really love.
Oh yeah. Again,
that's how Madness is. So it's kind of like
just for like the record books.
That album. which is also again why I was thinking Sublime, because Sublime is like a one album that's like it's this, you know what I mean?
Yes. And there's some joints on that album, let me tell you, that aren't the singles.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's do that for Madness. I'm sure if someone wants to take it off, I'll be fine. But yeah.
No harm, no foul.
I thought of I had a creative thought that I didn't write down fast enough.
Oh my.
On what I wanted to put in. Oh. I feel conflicted.
Okay.
About what I'm about to say because it goes against a lot of what we're talking about.
Okay.
My imperfections are showing. This album does not age well in a lot of ways, but was a wild impact on music. And culture, and the music still bangs mostly. I lost the window where you are. I can't find you.
I'm right here.
Okay,
how many tabs do you have up?
I switched my browser to Arc. I would also like to plug Arc is the best browser. It does run on Chromium or whatever, so it's basically Google Chrome, but I love Arc so much. But it is with different windows, it's hard a little bit.
Okay,
sometimes.
got you.
Anyway, I also thought, I thought of 2 White Women albums that I think are really good, and one of these I'm like, why is this not on here?
You have 2 slots left, so it's perfect.
Okay, my problematic fave. I don't.
Oh, you gotta lock in.
I want to give you final approval because this is a place where I'm too biased, so you can shut this down for me.
Okay.
Love Angel Music Baby by Gwen Stefani.
Hilarious. And for the record, like I didn't say it until now, but scandal acknowledged. But that record was pivotal for me in middle school. Like the singles were singling. That's for freaking sure.
And the singles were singling. Pharrell was Pharrelling. And I'm like, okay, Gwen Stefani, she's been culturally appropriating her whole life. That's all she knows how to do. But Pharrell saw it and was like,
we finna make millions.
Let's make it bigger. He said, I'm going to do what Rick James did to Tina Marie. And then T.I. said, I'm going to do what Rick James and Pharrell did to Iggy. And it's just continued the cycle of allowing and encouraging white women to be cultural appropriating.
I went almost my entire life not knowing that Tina Marie was not black.
A lot of yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
What's the other record?
I keep trying to find definitive proof that Gwen Stefani was influenced by Tina Marie. And I have not.
Someone's going to be able to make that connection somehow.
Because there's a line in like Star World or whatever where I'm copying this. I'm going to listen to that.
For sure. Los Diablos. Let's get it.
Tina Marie has this like lyric of this line where she goes, so sublime. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, wait, I've heard Gwen Stefani sing this exactly. And I tried to go back to the No Doubt album, the one that I said is my favorite. And I thought I knew what song it was in because it was like a weird, the way that Tina Marie sang it, I was like, oh, this is like weird No Doubt Gwen. And I can't find her. And anytime I try to search like Gwen Stefani and I'll do in quotes, so sublime, it always comes up with like the features that No Doubt and Sublime did. So I can't even find. I'm like, am I just hallucinating? Did I make this up? But I swear to God, the exact way that Tina Marie says this. And then I was like, wait a second, when Gwen was in her weird, almost yodel singing, and especially on that album, it is giving Tina Marie vibes. And I wonder if that also specifically is what let Pharrell think, oh, I need to be doing this, like, and pushing in this direction. Plus, Gwen Stefani and Tina Marie's 2006 albums, they sound similar, and they're produced by totally different people, totally different vibe, but they are like just different. It is different, but when you hear them, it is obviously anything coming out in the same year is going to have certain similarities based on the time, but they somehow, by totally different people, arrive in a very similar place.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Anyway, do you accept?
It's your selection, so I'm gonna let it cook.
What?
I'm gonna let it cook because like it's your selection.
Okay.
And I feel like you brought like anybody who was anybody in that period of time will remember. So like, yeah, I feel like again because like I feel like if it's retail core 2025, I think it's a contender as far as I'm concerned. Personal feelings aside, because like I like for years like
Andre 3000. The Andre 3000 is really plus. I don't know. Like I'm gonna say we need to be just as mad at Pharrell as we are at Gwen Stefani. We all, because he's not. This wasn't just his one thing. He fucked over Khalees. Like he has a long history of doing some bullshit. Plus, Gwen Stefani has never done anything for herself in her career at all. It's always her brother started No Doubt. She started singing for her brother. Then Tony was making her music. Then she went into her grunge phase because she was dating whatever his name was.
Yeah, Gavin Rossdale.
And then Pharrell and Chad Hugo were like, okay, let's cook with this. Like, she's always had the theme of cultural appropriation, but it really comes from like her not having her own identity and always taking identity from the men around her. Because we also think about like the Harajuku cultural appropriation was technically her own, but she says, no, I was really into Harajuku because my dad would go on business trips to Japan. So she's just taking the shit from another man in her life. She truly does not. And now she's like wearing camo at the whatever, doing country with Blake. So, thank you. So, but Gwen, like, and like I said, No Doubt was my intro, like it was my gateway to things. And I think
everybody needs a portal.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm also a really big fan of recognizing Chad Hugo.
The underrated GOAT.
I saw, yes. So he was cooking there. And I think we should recognize that. So yeah. I honestly think
do it.
If we're gonna have a Neptunes album, see, that's the thing. This isn't me saying Gwen Stefani was okay. This is me putting a Neptunes album on the list.
Yeah, it's a Trojan horse, if anything.
I think they deserve to be in the top 100. And I think if any of their albums should or like have had that cultural impact, it's that one.
Yeah, because like, given the period we're in now, like you maybe could have made an argument for like their production work with Snoop Dogg, but like now, like it's contaminated goods. You know what I mean?
It is. So yeah.
We have one more to add to the list, and we still have a bunch to take off. And I think we'll wrap after that because like I knew this was. No, please don't apologize because I'm like I knew we were gonna cook, but like we cooked even better than I thought. And so this is definitely we're running this back later this year. I just want you to know that.
Thank you. We still have to get back to the Rick James and Prince question.
I'm scared to even answer it at this point. Like,
No, I'm so excited. I really want to hear your thoughts, and just the way you reacted to that question, like I really deeply want to hear what you say.
okay, well, that's how we close it out for sure. Do you
Um,
know what you want to add, or do you want to like take some more off first?
No, my other White Woman album that I am shocked is not on here, that may be Contaminated Goods for other reasons. And again, I have brain injury, so I don't know. I think people think that this woman is very cringe. I don't know. She also is giving me like regular Republican vibes, but I'm sure there are a lot of other Republicans on this list. But it's Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. Why isn't that on the list?
Ooh, you know, maybe the execs at Apple didn't want to rock the boat.
That's what it's giving. Here's the thing. We've established that a lot of the Black albums on this list, it's like, why did you pick this one? I'm like, this isn't someone who appreciates and listens to Bob Marley and the Wailers. Like, this is someone, and I remember, does this list get updated, or was it just done once?
It was done and it was put up on it was done. It was one and done.
This was done by someone who wants to, I have a picture of who did this, and specifically because Miseducation is number one, like an incredible album, but I think it is a big choice to put that above Thriller. I think if Thriller was number one, I would be like, makes sense.
For me, like, because like I want to because it's like it's so frustrating that like it took us 50 years for people to like sincerely respect women rappers. It took all of like, because we had prominent, stupendous women rappers from like the birth of hip hop all throughout its history, but it's finally now when like the rights of like the rights of people who are not like the rights of non-men are in so much danger right now, and this is like the period of time where like women's rap is its most powerful. And like, because like you and I grew up in a time when you could only have one woman rapper in like the top 20, you know, like before, like I feel like for people like you and me, our age, millennials, zillennials, our first like big like rap woman star was either A, Queen Latifah, or B, like Missy Elliott. And then like Nicki came around, changed the whole formula, and like she was the only one allowed to really like just like cook at the top until we had like a Cardi, a Megan, and now maybe also, like
part of that was, I have big deep thoughts that I will not get into about Nicki Minaj and her
what happened.
I'm trying to think of the word, when her like ruling, like her
reign.
Yeah, reign, exact. Thank you.
Okay.
Her reign. It's so fascinating because
it's important stuff. Yeah.
When she started, I started getting into like women rappers. I was really into Jungle Pussy. I love
Jungle Pussy to this day.
I was just like her back when like 212 came out. I was really getting into like a lot of, especially in New York, there were a lot of women rappers. And so I was actively seeing them being stuck because Nicki Minaj was the only person taking opportunities, but also Nicki Minaj was keeping it that way. Like she was like not
sending her hand forward.
Any of the other girlies take opportunities. And I think it is also very frustrating because she kept a lot of other like Black women rappers like in that like glass ceiling and in that box. So the only like visual like examples that we see of her trying to like get rid of women rappers are like Miley Cyrus and Iggy Azalea, who are white, but they were starting to come up and take her features. So she was getting less features. So she fucking put down Miley Cyrus, and she was responsible for Miley Cyrus having her dip in her career where it was very uncool to be associated with Miley Cyrus after she was like doing stuff with Mike Will Made It. And she also, all the hate that Iggy Azalea got, it was started by Nicki Minaj throwing a stone at her, which again, I think a lot of criticism against Iggy Azalea and even Miley Cyrus for her appropriation is very valid, even though a lot of people want to defend Miley Cyrus's stuff. I think it gets a little too defended, honestly. I don't think that
it's murky. I think sure.
that was a wild era. And she had a song produced that was not released. It's one of my favorite songs by her. I love a lot of her unreleased songs. It was produced by Pharrell, and Tyler, the Creator, found it in the studio, and he basically like got in there. He was like, please let me be on this song. Please let me be on this song. And it ended up not getting put on the album, but that sonically is what shaped the rest of his. It shaped like Flower Boy, like everything, all the direction that he moved into. It was based on Pharrell's production on this song. He was like, I'm so obsessed with this. And then he made it his whole thing. The song is called, I can't remember.
It's fine. Enough people will hear us chatting about it and go get it. So you're good.
Okay, yes. It's unreleased. Go to YouTube, like Miley unreleased songs, and it's the one with Tyler, the Creator. It turned into a Jennifer Hudson song, and it really lost the sauce. It's not the same.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Anyway, but I'm like, that makes sense. That is like a white girl getting into like this world. You know what I mean? It's a little less, it's very Miley Cyrus. It's weird. Like Miley and Tyler being weird together. It was a vibe that really worked. And it was bangers vibes, but it wasn't like cultural appropriation bangers. So I think she should have gone in that direction. But anyway.
Probably would have kept on the island of relevancy prior to like, because like the pivot to Malibu was like very off-putting for a lot of people, but that's neither here nor there.
No. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Nicki Minaj, I think right now, like since 2020, we've had so many like women rappers that are so incredible. And I think always women rappers have been going so hard. And especially in the last 4 to 5 years, it's undeniable that guys have just been giving us like mediocre, boring ass
table
shit.
Scraps.
And the only really truly interesting new rapper that I've been enjoying is Tizo Touchdown. I also got to see him last year. Last year I only got to go to a few shows. They were really good ones. And he brought Mona Leo.
Oh, Mona Leo. I think Mona Leo's great.
I love her. And I like walked in and she was playing and I was like, I thought it was like some local person like doing something. And I'm like, no, this is like Mona Leo. And then I was like, is this really her? And it was her. And I was like, it was a very like surprise. Like she wasn't on the ticket. It was just, she did like the Texas shows and she was like,
Makes sense. Yeah.
But there's so many girlies who are just doing it so hard. And like the new Megan album is great. I kind of the new Megan album is one that I'm like, I hope this gets all the flowers it deserves and like changes. I think the way people make music, I think Megan's album is going to change things, but I as big as it got and all the like TikTok trends, I don't think it's getting the flowers.
I think it's very underrated. Like I had no idea she had like a Spirit Box feature. And like that should have been like front page news in metal and just like in metal spaces. Because like I would it's probably like too naive. I would put them on a tour together. Sincerely.
I hope she does shows with them because I do remember. So the Spirit Box remix was released a year before the album was. Yeah. And by the time the album came out, I forgot it. I remember she did a Spirit Box thing, but I'm just going to expose myself. I never got really into Spirit Box. And
that's fine.
I think also for gender reasons, I really wasn't gravitating towards Megan's music either. Like this album is the first time, I think, because I've made progress in my gender journey and because of what this album is, it's like really the thing that I'm like, I've always respected her and loved her, but now I'm so locked into her music. And I'm able to appreciate it in a way. But like, I also think like the way she came into making and being like, I'm gonna like do all my weird shit, like all my weird shit, I'm gonna all put it in here. It does kind of remind me of Gwen Stefani, like Love Angel Music Baby, where she's like, I'm just gonna make this all my weird hyperfixations. But Megan's doing it in the right way.
I feel you.
You know what I mean? Like she's doing it better. And I think it's also very interesting that she sampled both Gwen Stefani and Tina Marie in it. I don't know. There's just so much there. Maybe I'll put her album on there. But you said
really?
Do I only need one more?
You technically have you're 10 for 10, but you can for the record you put back Janet Control, you put in Kaya by Bob Marley, Speaker Box by Outkast, In Our Lifetime by Marvin Gaye, It Must Be Magic by Tina Marie, Street Songs by Rick James, Rap by Charlie XCX, One Step Beyond by Madness, Love Angel Music Baby by Gwen Stefani, and Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. You know, you could always just swap out that Madness record since you're kind of like,
I know we made a big thing about putting ska in there, but if you've got ska covered later,
I've got ska covered. Put Megan in instead.
Exactly what I was thinking. You read my mind.
Let's freaking go. We're locked in.
We're so on the same
We're
vibe.
locked in.
I love that I've been saying like my most deep-seated like shit that I always think about music, that like whenever I like talk to someone, I just sound like an old man yelling at the clouds.
Yes.
But you like you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. This has been like the best like 2.5 hours I've spent on one topic in a while. Let's lock in on these last two topics. I just want to say for the record, I know that Mamushi by Megan has been doing really well, but like I gotta say, you know, because like Megan just went to like South Korea and was having a great time out there. She collaborated with the group Twice because she dropped a remix for their song Strategy, which I'm not really too keen on. I was a big, like, I wouldn't say I was a once. I wasn't in like the fandom of Twice, but I was a huge Twice fan. I don't care for Strategy too much. I'm glad that we got to see Megan be on more than one K-pop song in her career. But I want to point out that like the remix to Mamushi features Twice way, way, way better as like a posse cut with women just like talking about how they're a star. Because like the rapper they have on Mamushi, Mr. Yuki Chiba, I preferred his stuff when he was going under a different name and when he was like straight up just rapping in Japanese. Because like I'm thinking, my guy, this verse is not doing nothing for me. I feel the same way about like Megan's collaboration with RM on Never Play. Because I'm like, Namjoon, rapping Korean, bruv. Like the old BTS stuff when like all the words are just like rapping. I'm like, this is really cool because it's like, oh, these are like Korean young dudes like expressing their love for hip hop in their own mother tongue. Because like the English stuff, the BTS stuff marketed to Americans, I hate that shit. That's not why I like you guys. I liked it because I'm like, oh, like this is clearly like Korean pop music that's like inspired by Western stuff, but it's still Korean pop music, not just like we want to sell you a single. Because like clearly y'all can sell me anything, but like sell me something you want to freaking work on, dog. Damn. Yeah. Dadgum. That's like the one thing I wanted to say about that.
No, I didn't realize that she was doing things with Twice too. I think
just like under our freaking noses.
That's the first thing I'm gonna look up. But that's what I mean. Like she's like, I'm gonna put all my weird things in here, but I'm gonna like, it's gonna be for real, like with her with like the anime samples and like again actually like going to South Korea and like just the way she's doing it. I'm like, oh, this is like real. Like this is like you're showing like so much like respect and like really deep, like as much as I can say like Love Angel Music Baby was like doing it, like Megan did this in like a
paying homage, really, you know?
It's like this is how you do that. Like this,
1,000.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put this in the list, manifesting that this album is going to like pop off. Cause I think people saw her like be for like dissing people and just kind of left it at that. But I'm like, there's so much more to this. And I think also like what a lot of I think her story of like just being like, yeah, I'm weird. I'm like into these like interests. Like in rap, we've seen that from like Childish Gambino, but I think seeing it from Megan is a lot better because I would like to hear about all this cool stuff and like be brought into like your weird hyperfixations without fetishizing Asian women.
Yes.
So I think she has Childish Gambino and Gwen Stefani beat in that specific arena.
Bingo.
on like how to be a weeb without fetishizing women.
Honestly, it was so cool seeing her like on a Crunchyroll like Zoom call, just like chatting, like just talking shop about her interest, and like seeing her cosplays on magazine covers and stuff like that. Like this is like just like hearing about her last tour. We're like, oh, all the girlies who come to my show come in your cosplays. You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah.
that was really. It's like, oh, this is for us. This is for like y'all. This is like truly. This is like that's how you create a safe space. It's like, oh, Megan Thee Stallion, that's for the girls. Like all the man dem, stay at home. All the straight guys, this ain't for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, buy Shorty a ticket and like, hey, job, good time. That's what this is for.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I get, you gave me a rundown of the albums that I put in. Did we finish the albums we're taking out?
You still need to give me 4 more. For the record, you gave me you took off Aquemini. You took off the Bob Marley record that was already there. You took off What's Going On. You took off Pure Heroin, OK Computer, Golden Hour, and What's the Story, Morning Glory.
Do you think I should take out the Marvin Gaye? Because I was thinking Marvin Gaye can have 2 on there.
If you want to put it back, I'll put it right back.
Because I'd rather, I don't think someone else should have to put that. I think it should be there, and I don't want to put the onus on someone else to put it back in. You know what I mean?
I feel you. Yeah, I'll take that off.
So someone can take out my Marvin Gaye pick. I just want it to be known that that's there.
I understand. Yeah, I'm with you.
All
right, so you can put 5. You can take 5 off, whichever you want.
Okay, I'm trying to look at. We took off Golden Hour.
I want to like, okay, so you asked me for my opinion. Let me ask you for yours on something I want to take off the list.
Okay.
This may be a reach. I want to take off Hounds of Love.
What even is that?
The Kate Bush record.
I'm not a Kate Bush listener.
Truthfully, I know 2 of her songs, so I'm not even going front.
I've not even heard that, so.
If we're just gonna put names on the board for now.
Okay, let's do that as like a strong contender.
All right, bet.
I'm
saving it for now.
I'm assuming Take Care is already gone.
Yeah, that was like the first. That was like the first 10, 20 we took off.
Is the Talking Heads gone?
Let me see.
I would like to take out Talking Heads.
You would? Tell me about that.
I just don't like. What do you want me to say? I don't like Talking Heads.
Okay, if it's as simple as like, oh, I don't care for it, like, because I know Haystack West was like, let me get rid of that, and I'm like, please reconsider, and he's like, ugh, fine, because I have a personal history with it, but like twice mentioned. If anything, if there's a nerd out there who loves that record as much as I do, it'll probably be back anyway. But like for now,
yeah, I think it's very overhyped. Someone can definitely bring it back in if they really want to. But I don't like. I think it's very overhyped.
Interesting. I definitely like when I first heard about it, I'm like, I don't care to get into it because I'm lazy. But like one of my stoner friends will play me some of the songs from it, and I'm like, this shit is cranking. I ain't go front. I will not be running up that hill to make a deal with God. Jonah, in my heart of hearts, I don't see why that song is so popular. However, I do see like the justification for songs like Cloud Busting or for Babushka. Like those songs, out of this world, Adam Smasher bangers. But I don't really get like Running Up That Hill specifically. I'm like, what's going on here? That's like that has y'all like shaking your shoulders from side to side. Don't see it, and I don't say it to be a hater, because I know Big Boy from Outkast is Kate Bush's biggest fan, and I want no smoke with that man.
I think you're valid.
Thank you, LA.
I'm thinking of SOS by SZA or Steely Dan.
What's the other one you said?
Steely Dan.
I think just you're the only one allowed as like the biggest yacht rock. Just like
even supporter. I feel like weird about it, but if I was gonna put a different yacht rock, like there are other like that's the thing is I never got that into Steely Dan. The yacht rock documentary kind of changed like them explaining the actual music elements. Like I'm not a musician. I'm here for like the cultural impact and what I think is a good vibe.
I feel you.
And I've learned how to talk about which elements of music that I like for my favorite genres. Steely Dan is like pre-yacht rock, and they definitely started that like specific like white man, like soul jazz fusion vibe, and making soft rock interesting and not boring as shit. And I know that the album is really big for people. No, because then Questlove and Thundercat will be mad at me.
Well, to be honest with you, Thundercat, I have the smoke for you in particular, and Questlove will be fine. Questlove will be fine. Like he's definitely like the cool big cousin in like this music shit. Like he made Willow cry because he said that she's like the next generation of just like generational talent on like his own podcast. Yeah, like rest assured, Questlove will get over it. He may just like roast you in a tweet, but like Thundercat, you and I have to have a serious conversation, and I'll leave it at that.
If you watch the Yacht Rock documentary, please tell me your thoughts. I would love to like.
If I find a plug for HBO Max, I got you.
Oh shit! I wish I could be that for you, but I'm also.
Yeah, I'm gonna find a way around it. I might just like find a friend who has it and be like, hey, let me slide you like a $15 bill to get your password. Allegedly. Thank you for that, Jonah. Thank you. You've been every so often I'll wake up in the morning and Jonah will text me a new song I never heard. And I'm like, the plug. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm looking at this right.
Okay, I missed two more. I missed the comments of Tina Marie, specifically like them not showing that she was white. And obviously I wasn't around for the time, but I do remember hearing similar things and hearing that like when she was on the album, people thought that it was like a depiction of a Black woman with trying to be lighter, and they thought that it was like a colorist like
whoa, I didn't think about that.
Woman. And then it took like as time was going, it did take people at varying different times like a while to truly know that she was white.
Dang.
That's what I've heard. Obviously, like I said, I was not there, and this is like from things that I've seen in comment sections.
Hey, if anyone has the tea or has like the fact check, please drop it in the comments. We appreciate you for that.
I feel like I always say like I really love like granny music. And one of my biggest regrets of 2020, right before the pandemic, in like February 2020, I was supposed to fly to Ohio to go see Slave and some other funk band, and that's like one of my biggest regrets because it was like 2 weeks before lockdowns, and I was like, why didn't I go? But yeah, and anyway, so I love looking at YouTube comments from a bunch of like grandmas who are like, I went to go see Rick James in concert, and like them all talking about like 1979 was the best time, and I'm like, yes. I want to hear about
Justified.
They're all up in the YouTube comments, like talking about their stories, and I love it.
Hell yeah!
I found like interesting information from there, and I'm like, okay, I'm not putting this in the history books. I don't know that this is verified, but if a lot of people are saying like a similar vibe, anyway. I'll stop getting off topic because I do want to focus on this, and then hound you for your thoughts on Prince and Rick James.
No pressure.
Okay. So I can take out Steely Dan. Well, I feel like there should be yacht rock in here. And I'm kind of just like, I can't think of a better album to replace it with in the yacht rock era, which sucks.
It'll do.
I was thinking about putting Christopher Cross in there, but that's even more niche. I was a Grammy winner. I don't know.
It feels very like Golden Hour E on its face anyway.
The way that when you were explaining how Golden Hour won and it didn't, like nothing happened, that's exactly how I feel about Christopher Cross.
Okay, cool.
He like won, but it didn't do anything. But then it literally was that, and the way the documentary goes, it literally explains that.
Hilarious.
Wait, so can I take off SOS?
Damn. I'm not gonna fight it only because I know someone's gonna be like, who did this?
I would love
beef.
no, I would love someone to put in, because someone already added what's the other SZA album? The one before.
Oh wait, you mean Control?
Yeah, someone should put that on there.
I think. No, never mind. I was about to say someone else did, but like no one has yet. So okay, you know what?
I feel like that's an obvious move, is for someone to switch out SOS for Control.
I will justify it in the sense that like it is a very new album, but and like it's funny, like kind of like again equating it back to Golden Hour, but only in the sense that like people actually hear Good Days and people actually care for things like Snooze, like the record where like she's like I just killed my ex again had a run like a significant radio run, and I really love that like Ghost in the Machine like got like Phoebe Bridgers another Grammy, you know what I'm saying?
I'm torn because I really think like Control was so iconic and big, and I feel like people want to make SOS out to be as big as I don't know, maybe I'm
differently for a reason
where I'm comparing, but I'm just like it reminds me of the Prince thing. Like, why would you put Sign of the Times on there
as opposed to Purple Rain? I got you.
Yeah, I feel like it's that scenario where Control is the Purple Rain.
Well, I'm gonna let it fly. So
I'm like, I got rid of some mediocre white people. So
you've done you did what we asked you for. So you can take some creative liberties. That's what I do. That's what I asked you here for creative liberties. So you are doing the assignment.
I got a little problematic putting Gwen Stefani in here, and I can be a little. I don't even think it's problematic. Maybe a little controversial taking
controversial for sure.
Again, it's with the intention that someone's going to put Control on there.
Yeah, so if anything, it's like
and if someone doesn't put Control on there, I'm sure they'll put in something better that deserves to be there.
It's very much like, because like I went to radio school when I was younger, and I'm like, if I can't like challenge the listener on their takes, why am I even doing my job? Very much so like, oh, like you want to hear this Bieber song 30 times a day? Why? You know?
How many more do I need?
You get one more.
To take out?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was kind of thinking The Strokes.
Oh, that I am so here for that.
Okay, cool.
So here for that, to be honest with you.
I feel like that was one of the defining picks that helped me understand what type of man chose this list.
And like, again, like I think I discussed it briefly with like my last two like contributors, but like my whole like my Strokes introduction is again Guitar Hero 3, Room on Fire. You know what I'm saying? Like Reptilia. Like let's keep it a bean because
it is great. Yeah,
a joint like properly, and like this one like folk band that I like. What are they freaking called? It's gonna kill me. I'm gonna look it up right now before I say anything more. Movement and location. Yeah, the Punch Brothers. They did like a cover of that song, like for the AV Club. Oh, S tier performance in my opinion, but I think they took it down, and I don't know why. And I want it because I want it on my phone, so I can just listen to it every day. Because yeah, like there are certain places where a mandolin and violin are like required, and that cover is where it is. But I won't delay you any further. We've been like hammering away for like the last 2 hours, like almost 3 hours at this point. I was supposed to like have a social outing, and in like 6 minutes, I'm gonna be like, hey, getting in a lift, be right there. It's totally fine. I did this to myself. I didn't want to delay us any further. My answer, sincerely, is Rick James. And here's the thing, right? Because at this point in time, people are still getting to know Prince and all of his work. Here, I'm gonna turn the light on because it's getting kind of dark in here. Ta-da! Like, because again, I mentioned earlier how like if you didn't like buy CDs, you weren't gonna find Prince on iTunes. and like his estate making his basically everything that legally could be like put on like DSPs available to the world. There's a good chunk that like people are just like straight up ignoring or don't know how to like get into, which is why I reference like a Mike the Snare, a person who like put in like the hours to listen to everything. Meanwhile, like since Rick James was like so huge, you can see him almost everywhere, and like all of like his contributors.
Even
It's
if
like-
you
it's
don't
like you-
know it's a Rick James, even if you don't know it's a Rick James reference, whether it's his samples or whatever, it's still Rick James.
Yeah, it's very, very chameleon like in its nature, and like it's one of like the few artists that like my dad tried to connect with me with before he passed. It was like played me Mary Jane for the first time because like it came on the radio and it's like took him back to being young again.
Mhm.
And like, you know, like Prince and Michael are kind of the same in the sense that like they had really weird religious views in like the latter half of their lives. And like the Rick James stuff kind of like exists outside of that like strange and like often cultish like realm of like sect of Christianity. Like it's the kind of records where like, oh, like your default like Baptist like parents would like give you a hard time for having the record like hidden under your bed or whatever the heck.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you wouldn't play that stuff at like the church function, but like I could be at my job in West Philly playing the radio, and like the old head contractors would just get snapped back and do the oh, and I'm like, oh, okay, guys, I see you. But then like the homophobia would come out because it's just like, why are you dressed like that? And I'm like, Unc, you probably dressed like that, so don't do that.
There's
Don't do
a
that.
lot of thoughts in some of the deep dives I've done in the past couple years. I found different quotes and references and things about gender and expressions and sexuality, and like I have very like nuanced vibes and all of this, but also at the same time I'm like, okay, Eddie Murphy, are you sure that Rick James isn't your girl who likes to party all the time? Sorry.
It's a valid question.
I love the music video. I love the way they hold each other at the end. It makes my
More
heart
of that.
so warm. Sorry.
You're
I
good.
don't want to
You're
be
so good. It's
No, I'm-
totally fine.
I really take like I respect that, you know, in different times there's a lot of homophobia and internalized homophobia and like different
Yeah.
like it's I want to be very respectful. But also that, and like even some things that like Marvin Gaye has said in his like there's been some quotes from him that I haven't shared out of like I love finding weird things on the internet and then posting it, but
Mm.
I'm like I don't trust people to like if this does
Take it in
get
good
into
faith.
you know the way people talk about Kurt Cobain, the like trans, like Kurt Cobain is trans and stuff, and it's like yeah, probably like on like that's what it's giving, but like you're being really freaking weird about it. Anyway,
Yeah.
you have to go. I do want to say my other thing about Rick James is like I found out only last year that do you remember the Kanye and I think it might have been Rick Ross, this is another like I don't remember the exact person, sampled not even Mary Jane but a live recording of Mary Jane, and it's him doing crowd work to the audience.
Oh, it was
and he's
Kendrick.
like-
Yeah, it was Kendrick.
It was Kendrick who did the sample.
Yeah, it was I forget the producer, but like it's on the first track. It's like on the second track of Damn for DNA. It's the clip of Give Me Some Ganja. And it's like flip it and like
That's a different thing. So
oh what? What are you referring
I'm
to
talking-
then?
I think it was mostly Kanye, but Rick Ross did it first. It might be, I was thinking maybe Juicy J, but I think it's Rick Ross. It could be someone else.
Interesting.
They took, I'll send you the clip that it's live from, but they took,
Yeah.
here, I'm going to do it. I can't, it may not sound like it, but when I've done this, other people were like, yeah, I've heard that, the sang it. And it's in the beginning of Crawl by Childish Gambino. And it was a texture.
Oh, I could have sworn that was Mystical.
That
I know
was
what you're
put
talking
into
about.
so much music, but it started with Kanye and Rick Ross, and it was
I
like
had no
"Sing
idea.
it." It's Rick James yelling at the crowd like "Sing it," And
Wow.
there's another one that's like, I thought it was a different word, but it was like, oh, look at ya, the look at ya.
Yeah.
That sound it was all over like SoundCloud rap, like like
Yeah,
early
that was for
2010s.
that was definitely like the sample that he used on Runaway.
Yes, yes. And
Wow.
Kanye West got the most in depth, and he sampled a lot of different parts of that one specific live performance. And then I think he did it so much, and then I think it just got added to like plugins or like production packs, and people just kept adding it into things. But that's another thing that is like Rick James that people don't attribute to Rick James.
I see that. That's so sick. I never would have like put two and two together because like it definitely like that specific look at you sample has done like because like again Silverstein covering Runaway for Pump Goes Pop, and I'm like this is a really really great cover, and like the guest verse that like the guest rapper they brought in, I don't think it aged very well because like I feel like there's like I feel like you can still like tell that same story of like a scene girl or a young woman in the scene like just like being treated badly by guys in bands, but like it very much put the onus on the actual like victim and not just like the culture around the person that makes a person like that puts a person into that position. You know what I'm saying? And since I'm here, I might as well say it. Like when all like the A Day to Remember stuff started going down, like I was like a faithful like listener to Shane Told's podcast, what's it called, Lead Singer Syndrome. And when like he had Jeremy on the podcast, I didn't listen because I was afraid like there's a chance they won't talk about the elephant in the room, and I can't, and that will break my heart. And so I had to like quietly disengage from that podcast and from Silverstein in like the most part, but I still check in with that band because I'm like, oh, like Shane Told is like the almost perfect example of what a vocalist should be in post-hardcore in regards to a proper singer and a really talented like harsh vocalist. But you know, like these things come up a lot and they are important. And like maybe in the future we can have a proper like detailed conversation about it as like these things are still taking place right now, especially with like the drama around the most recent Dance Gavin Dance tour. We on your ass, folk. No, don't think that we ain't because we is.
Thank you so much for indulging in the Rick James versus Prince question. I want to make it like a cultural conversation. So I think I'm going to make a TikTok about it. But I'm like, I know how it's going to be perceived as like, who's this white bitch like trying to contribute to the beef of them? And I'm like, that's not what it is.
You're just asking a question I think that I'm sure other people have asked, and like I'm sure that someone who's going to see your post will be like, yes, someone else who's like also thinking about this thing that I thought about for a long time. Here's all my freaking notes.
I want to hear what other people's data, and like because I was like, Prince is Prince. Like Rick James is kind of forgotten, and like he doesn't get the flowers that Prince receives, but we still are interacting with so many things that he's touched or that came from him, whether we acknowledge that it's him or not.
Agreed.
In a way that I hadn't, you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh wow.
Previously considered.
Yeah. Especially when at the time Prince was like more mainstream or like crossed over kind of more a little bit.
Like the 80s baby, essentially.
Yeah. Like at the time, I think the reality and the conversations were definitely like, oh, Prince kind of like grew to this point and he's Prince. But now that time's kind of settled, like I don't think anyone ever has been more sampled than Rick James, and it's not even just Super Freak. So
it's a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Look, y'all, it's been like a fun 3 hours. I'm Chris Kennard. I'm joined by Nikki, Taste Destroyer. You can find like their Instagram in the description, the doobly doo. Please click on the link tree. Like, just look around, like engage with it, pass it around to the homies. Quick fire calls to action. Drink more water. You can drink from the tap, count your blessings straight up. If you leave the house, wear a mask. I know I'm gonna wear them when I leave later today. And when you get up to like go do like your self-care, brushing your teeth, like like putting on a mask. I'm like like a face mask, like flossing, like just making sure you're looking cute. Like tell yourself like sincerely,
I love you to yourself. If you can't, trust me, I can relate. Please know that like I am like the most like platonic and supportive way possible. Love you. Like as we can see, like there's some hateful bastards trying to like ruin your life and like the lives of your friends and family. It's not gonna last because fascism burns you out. Hate is not sustainable, but love is. It's so fucking hard, but it's so fucking worth it. Nikki, anything you want to like just like shout out or like tell the people about yourself?
I just want to underline everything that you just said. Something that I regret not saying at the beginning of this, but I think is something that sums up everything we've talked about, and something that I've been saying in my TikToks this year, is to anyone who's white and watching this, if you don't know Black music history, you don't know music history. So I hope that even some of the things that we've talked about here, because it's not just like Elvis and a few like white creators taking Black music, it's a much more complex history. I think with yacht rock, ska, just a lot of the music here, even Rick James, anything by Motown, please, especially if you're one of those like you grew up with families who were really into like Fleetwood Mac or like classic rock, and that's what you know is music history. I really would recommend you like just listening to more Black music from the 80s and 70s. Anything that you find interesting, because even within people who are working in the music industry and a lot of peers that I have who are really tapped into music, their Black music history knowledge is lacking. And I spent a lot of time in my early 20s like really making up for that in myself, after I got into ska and I realized, oh, there's like a lot more music than what like naturally was given to me. And now I see a big gap in between like people who grew up with like Black music in their household, versus people who didn't. And it's, if you had that gap, please fill it.
Well freaking said.
And I also want to underline everything that Chris said. But yeah.
While I was like getting ready to like go live with you, I saw a quote from Black Amazon on Blue Sky, and the first thing that it says is the actual opposition of fascism is creation, period. I'm gonna like link it in the comments. And so like if you have like a creative bone in your body, get back into it, because like it's gonna be really needed over the next 3 years or so. A big shout out to my dog, Living Abstraction. Hey, Nigeria, Nollywood, give my man a job. So he can't come. So he's like, oh, I can't come home. I'm too busy working on a film. That's what I want to hear. That's what I'm like manifesting for you. And to my art dad, Jonah the Unknown, I'm dropping a link to his art in the comments. Like the pinned posts on my Instagram are stuff that he illustrated. So talented, like a big like part of my online life. Thank you so much, Jonah, for being here. Thanks to anyone else who just like poke their head in. We'll see you next time. Please stay warm if it's the winter where you're at. Yeah, much love. This isn't goodbye. It's not even farewell. We'll just see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful, and I hope you're not too late to your bed.
Fine. Like literally during our recording, my friend's like, I'm taking a nap, and I'm like, I love that for you. I'm gonna get on the phone, but like, I'm on the way. Hoagies in hand. You know what I'm saying? Please say goodbye. Bye. Thanks again, everyone. We're out. Godspeed.